Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Fem Sasuke is a Naruto fangirl. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. Helpless. That's what she was. She had used nearly every drop of her chakra to help Naruto defeat Madara. Tsuki Uchiha doubted she'd be able to move even an inch, no matter how hard she tried. On the plus side, she had activated the Rinnegan and they had defeated Madara. Both of her feats only a handful of people had ever achieved. Downside, she honestly thought the Sharingan looked cooler. Oh, and that whole "she was probably going to die here" thing, that sucked. Her body was numb. She knew she should be in absolute agony, but it was like everything had been turned off. What she was left with was a floating sensation. So this was dying? Dying wasn't so bad. She'd get to see her family again. She slowly drifts into unconsciousness. "You have to help Tsuki, Sakura," Naruto screams out, in not much better shape than his dark-haired teammate. "I will, Naruto," Sakura responds and rushes over. This is bad. She's almost completely out of chakra. "I don't think I could move her without killing her in this condition," Sakura says and starts to perform medical just you on the last Uchiha. Other medics were rushing around the battlefield, healing as many as they could. People were being taken off on stretchers or assisted in walking to medical tents that had been put up. Shizune soon rushes to Naruto's side and begins working on healing the blonde. Tsuki and Naruto had collapsed side by side, so the brunette and pink-haired medics were working alongside each other. It was a race against time. Both young ninjas were more dead than alive. "Ah!" Naruto howls out in utter agony. "It's actually a good thing that you can feel pain again, Naruto," Shizune says as she pops a pain pill into the blue-eyed ninja's mouth. Naruto knew that Shizune was only trying to help, but the normally amiable young man was in too much pain to care. A fucking good thing that he could feel pain again? Well, she should experience what he was and see how she liked it. But the protest died on his lips when she mercifully gives him the pain pill. It took hours of painstaking healing, but eventually Naruto was deemed stable enough to be moved to the medical tent. A few days later, he was transported back to the Leafs hospital. It took Tsuki about a week long to be lucid enough to understand what was going on. She woke up in a hospital bed. The brunette scowls when she notices the chakra restraints. She'd been in the Leaf hospital more than enough times to recognize where she was. "Why, damn it, why?" she howls out her frustration. She had been doing what the Leaf clearly wanted her to do. Tsuki Uchiha had been dying. The last Uchiha had welcomed death's embrace. It would have finally been over. But someone had saved her. Someone had gone through a lot of trouble to have her survive. She noticed the date on the calendar showed that several days had passed since the final battle. "I see you are awake," she hears a female voice say. Tsuki looks to see who it was. She'd never officially met the woman, but she knew who was addressing her. That was Tsunade, the 5th Hokage. Shit, this was not going to end well. "Why nurse me back to health, if you plan to kill me anyway," Tsuki says neutrally. At this point, Tsuki had no real fear of her own death. She wasn't suicidal. She'd never be suicidal. That'd be the coward's way out. Tsuki was many things, but a coward she was not. But she was surviving mostly out of habit now. "Trust me, the thought of having you executed or just letting nature take its course did cross my mind. However, two things prevented me from going through with it," Tsunade says. "Which were?" Tsuki asks the busty ninja. "The first is you helped us defeat Madara. Like it or not, without you and Naruto working together, we'd all be stuck inside that dream world forever. That does go a long way towards earning a pardon. The second being your death would absolutely break Naruto," she explains. "Saving the world almost earns me a pardon. Has anyone ever told you that you are a very harsh grader?" she smirks. "A few times. No comment on the second reason, I see," she notes. "Naruto is loyal to the point of absolute stupidity. I've tried to shatter our bond again and again. But he won't let me," Tsuki answers honestly. Why she was being honest with the blonde, she had no idea. Probably because she was still pumped full of pain meds. Yes, that must be it. Tsuki was not the type to spill her guts to anyone, let alone a stranger. Loyal to the point of stupidity, I suppose that's quite an accurate way to describe it. Tsunade couldn't help but chuckle. When she spoke like that, it was almost possible to remember that Tsuki was, after all, a teenager. She sounded like a kid that had an argument with her boyfriend. It was hard to reconcile such sarcasm with the terror she could inflict on the battlefield. If you aren't going to kill me, what are you going to do? Suki asks in an almost bored fashion. She had to keep fear out of her voice. Some rather horrific possibilities did flash through her head. As long as she was alive, that's what mattered to Naruto. They could still get away with a lot, as long as Naruto didn't find out about it. I could toss you in prison, we both know that the prison would only hold you if you allowed it, she observes. So not death or prison, are you going to make me a broodmare? Sasha asks. While the Leaf might want her dead, the Sharingan and now Rinnegan were something they definitely desired. She had the genes that meant if she had children, such gifts, or curses, would be passed down. Suki would rather be dead than be the Leaf's super baby incubator. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not a monster. But I do have a suitable punishment that would allow you to be reinstated as a ninja of the Leaf. Something that you may consider worse than being forced to revive your clan for the Leaf's benefit, Tsunade responds. Worse than being an incubator? What could possibly be worse than that? Suki was almost afraid to ask. As of now, Naruto is the only person in this world that we know of who can match you in battle. We can't expect him to watch you 24/7 to ensure your redemption is coming along smoothly, she begins. You are going to have Naruto babysit me, Sasha scoffs. Essentially, but in a far more intimate way than you might think, was the Hokage's reply. Intimate, Suki says and raises an eyebrow. This jutsu has not been used in centuries. No I. It is a linking of the minds. It was originally designed for lovers, but that is not a requirement for this jutsu to work. Essentially it means he would feel what you feel and vice versa. Over time a telepathic link can be established. It will give you both a general sense of where the other is. It is also designed to prevent treachery. This means if you were to attack him, any injury you'd inflict on him, you would also bear physically. The same is true in reverse. However, this does not apply to injuries that you receive from others or he receives from others. I'd advise you from attempting to arrange an assassination. The severing of such a bond would not end well for your mental health, Tsunade explains. That jutsu is forbidden, Suki says in outrage. Yes, well, desperate times call for desperate measures. Besides, I am Hokage, who is going to punish me, the blonde counters. Have you told Naruto about your plan? The brunette demands. It was actually his idea, Tsunade replies. What? Not even Naruto could possibly be this stupid. Suki would have flailed if she wasn't bound to the bed. As you said, he is loyal to the point of stupidity. He'd do anything to save you, Tsunade says. Does he even understand the risks of such a bond? Does he know what it entails? Suki questions. He does, and yes, the alcohol-loving ninja replies. And if I do not agree to this, Suki demands. You do not have a choice. You are a criminal ninja in my village and as such, it is well within my authority to punish you in whatever way I see fit, Tsunade answers her. Damn it, was all that Suki could say to that. She was so screwed. Naruto never gave up. He was relentless. If he could feel what she felt and had a vague sense of where she was, then he would just become even more so. That and the thought of sharing her mind in such a way with anyone was unsettling. Is it painful? Suki asks, referring to the jutsu from hell, as she had mentally dubbed it. It isn't as long as you don't fight it. If you resist, it will be. I'll tell Naruto you are awake. Tsunade turns to head towards the door. Wait, he's up and walking, Suki says in disbelief. Kyuubi speeds up his healing process substantially, not to mention his genes from his mother's side. Tsunade answers in an offhanded way. That is so cheating. Damn that fox, she scoffs. If it is any consolation, I imagine if you were anyone else, you'd probably have just stayed stuck in a coma. Tsunade offers just a little too cheerfully. Bitch, Suki says and glares. Yes, I am. You'd do well to remember that I also happen to be the head bitch in charge of this village now. I can make your life very difficult if you put that boy through any more pain than you already have, Tsunade threatens. Well played, Suki sighs and acknowledges the blonde has a point. Thank you, Tsunade heads off. A few minutes later, Tsunade drags Naruto into an empty room. She decided it was best to brief him privately. She casts a soundproofing jutsu, just to be on the safe side. That brat had some impressive lung capacity. Well, brat, she's awake. I told her about the jutsu. She's not happy about it. Figured I'd give you fair warning before you walked in there, Tsunade says. Thanks Granny Tsunade. I kinda expected that. Suki has never let people in. This has to be her worst nightmare come true, he says in an uncharacteristically insightful fashion. But it will save her life and keep her from being tossed into prison, Tsunade reassures him. Yeah, I know. I hate that I know she'll have to go through more pain. She's going to resist. I know her, Naruto says. Well, the two of you have always done things the hard way. There's no reason to expect that is going to change now, brat, Tsunade says and couldn't help but smile fondly at Jiraiya's student. Naruto nods and heads to Suki's room. He was glad she was restrained. He wouldn't put it past Suki to hurl whatever objects happened to be in her reach at him. And Suki was strong, so that shit would hurt like hell. Hey, how are you feeling? Naruto asks. Pissed the hell off. Where the fuck do you get off, loser? Linking our minds? Just because you are brain dead, doesn't mean I'm going to let you have some of mine, she growls at him. I'm really glad you are restrained right now, Naruto says and rubs the back of his head sheepishly. Yes, you should be. Madara is going to look like an adorable kitten, when I get my hands on you, she threatens. Ouch. That's harsh, Suki. Your ancestor was psychotic, Naruto says. You think he was crazy? I'll show you crazy, Suki says, and if looks could kill, Naruto wouldn't be 6,000 feet under. Yes, 6 feet under was just not deep enough to describe the level of fury in the last Uchiha's eyes. Suki, you really need to tone down the homicidal tendencies, Naruto responds. You really need to stop being an idiot. Do you understand what Ain no Ide is? She asks in outrage. It links our minds. You feel what I feel and vice versa. We can't hurt each other unless we want to fuck ourselves up, Naruto summarizes. Naruto, you couldn't hack it. You cannot handle feeling what I feel. It will destroy you, Suki says. See, you do care, Naruto says, grinning. You are such a loser. I just told you that your mind could be shattered and you are happy that I'm warning you about that. Suki responds and shakes her head. Maybe, but I'm the loser who is going to save your life, Naruto answers. Why are you so obsessed with me? How many times have I tried to kill you? Sasha asks. Because you're my friend. What kind of Hokage would I be if I can't even save my friend? Naruto answers. You are such a child. Not every story has a happy ending, Suki replies. Yeah, I know. This one will though, he says. I think you might actually be more crazy than me, she mutters. I learned from the best, Naruto says smugly. I'd hit you if I wasn't restrained, the brunette replies. I know. Too bad for you that you are, the blonde chirps happily. Suki is given a few more days to recover fully. Tsunade comes into the room and has several medics with her. The older blonde explains she wanted to be able to act quickly if something went wrong. Oh, that's reassuring, the last Uchiha says sarcastically. Uchiha, what did I say about my position in the leaf? Tsunade responds. Suki gulps and nods. Damn it, she sighs. Well, one thing was for damn sure. She was not going to give the bitch the pleasure of seeing her cry out in pain. Sasha didn't give a damn how painful the jutsu was, she had her pride. Yeah, I got it. Let's get this over with, she says with false bravado. Naruto nods. He had expected that Granny Tsunade would bring backup. He couldn't help but risk a glance at Suki. Yeah, she was going into defensive mode. Damn it, why did she have to always shut everyone out? Naruto couldn't help but remember back at the academy. Suki had always been apart from the other kids. She never played with them at recess. Hell, she never played period. He later found out that was probably due more to the trauma of the massacre than her natural personality. But he was a kid at the time and didn't know that. He had just wanted to be friends. Suki felt Naruto's gaze on her. She looks back. It sounded like in theory, he understood what this jutsu would do. But in practice, he was asking for his mind to be shredded. Naruto existed in a mythical land of sunshine and rainbows. The good guys would always win. The bad guys would always lose. Only happy endings existed in Naruto's world. Naruto's world was black and white. Suki's world was an endless sea of gray. Geez, don't sound so excited, Ice Princess, Naruto says. Idiot, I'm from a fire clan. That is a dumb nickname. At least mine is accurate, she responds. Suki's mind would shatter that illusion. For some reason, that made her feel more guilty than the thought of killing him ever had. She envied his ability to actually see how truly fucked up the world was and still believe that things could get better. It was a stupid idealistic notion. It wasn't true. But it must be nice to live in that world. No, Ice Princess totally fits you. Naruto volleys back. If you two are done trading barbs, let's begin. This is going to be a very long night, Tsunade says with a sigh. Tsunade had made sure to restrain both of them. The mind and chakra often were closely associated. If either tried to fight the link, their chakra could lash out if not restrained. She proceeds with doing thousands of hand seals. It took all her concentration. If she made even one seal wrong, she'd have to start all over again. One of the medics cut Suki's and Naruto's hands, pressing them together. Blood had to be exchanged during this jutsu. The medic was actually scared for her life, once Suki was free. But she hoped Naruto would stop Suki for killing her for her part in this jutsu. Sorry, she murmurs at the other woman. That's when Suki felt it. It was like being swept up in a tornado. She recognized Naruto's chakra. It was almost as familiar as her own. But never had it been so intense. It was like it was trying to blow straight into the pores of her skin. In her mind, she knew that logically this should have been painful. It should have been utter agony. But instead, it was the opposite. It was a rush. It felt good. Really good. Wind amplifies fire, she mutters to herself. Naruto barely had time to wonder what she meant, when he felt it. Naruto's chakra had gone first, which meant Suki felt the effects before he did. He knew that Suki's natural affinity was fire. In his mind's eye, he could visualize a powerful gust of wind blowing against a fire. The blonde was familiar with Suki's chakra, but he'd never experienced it like this. Sure, he'd felt her chakra lash out in anger during their battles. But this was different. It was almost like the fire was trying to dart away from his wind. Every time they connected, it would seductively dance away. Why Naruto's mind had labeled her chakra trying to avoid his as seductive, wasn't something he wanted to overanalyze. Closing parenthesis. Suki, stop running away from me, Naruto says. Naruto looks at Suki. Damn it, her eyes were completely glazed over. She must be further under the effects of the jutsu than he was. Was he going to look like that soon? Maybe it was because she was fighting him. This is hopeless. You won't catch her. Besides, we share the same body. I assume the link will work 3 ways. I'll lend you a hand, brat. Naruto hears Kyuubi. Alright Kurama, take it away. She's too fast, was Naruto's response. You'd think after chasing her ass all these years, you'd have a higher success rate of actually catching her, Kyuubi muses. Kyuubi dialed the chakra up to 11 on the Richter scale. Quite simply, Suki would probably always have superior chakra control. But Naruto, Kyuubi had more of it. Finally. There, the wind, touched, the fire. It was like nothing Naruto had ever felt. He knew that her second affinity was lightning, but this was insane. Every cell in his body felt electrified. It should have hurt like hell, but it felt fucking hot. He wasn't talking about the temperature. Somehow it was erotic. That's better. She's yielding, Kurama says. Kyuubi was right. While he had expected Suki's fire to fight his wind, it didn't. A few imagines of a damn cat that they had chased as Genin trying to scratch his eyes out, came to mind. Instead she let the wind encase her flames and seemed to be returning the favor. Suki had expected pain. She hadn't expected ecstasy. It was like nothing she'd ever experienced. Every spot on her body was overcome with pleasure. Of course she'd never admit this to anyone. Closing parenthesis. A bright light floods the room. It was golden in color and encircles Suki and Naruto. It surrounds them. When it finally clears, on Naruto's mark there was a symbol engraved on his neck of the Uchiha clan. Suki also received a mark. It was a spiral symbol on her neck. I think it was successful. Naruto, Suki, how do you feel? Tsunade asks. My neck hurts. It feels like someone took a knife and decided to engrave a tattoo. But otherwise, I'm fine, she says. Ditto on the neck thing. But yeah, I'm okay, Naruto says. Well, that's good. Try to use the link. To feel what the other is feeling, Tsunade encourages. Naruto wasn't exactly sure how to go about this. The blonde decides to shove his chakra at the brunette. That's when he felt it. It was a flicker in the back of his mind. It was like a few embers burning in a campfire. He knew somehow this wasn't from him. He tries to get a better look. It was hard to describe. Naruto didn't hear words, but he felt things. These weren't his emotions. They were definitely Suki's. She was excited about something. It was a different kind of excitement though. The naive blonde didn't know how to identify this emotion. QB did though. The damn sadistic fox was cracking up. Whatever it was, he wasn't going to tell Naruto. Yeah, I can feel her. I think she's riding high on an adrenaline rush, Naruto answers. Good, well that went better than expected. Suki, she asks. I don't know how to check, she mutters. Just push your chakra at me, Naruto says. Alright, Suki says and sends a burst of chakra at the blonde. Suki closes her eyes and concentrates. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she felt a warmth. It was sunshine. She follows it. Instinctively, she knew this was Naruto. There were no words, but she picked up an annoyance. It wasn't directed at her. She wasn't sure how she knew this, but she just did. He's annoyed. I think at the nine tails, she answered. Gotta give the Uchiha this much, she is perceptive, QB says. Can you feel the nine tails? Tsunade asks curiously. Not sure. I'll try, Suki replies and hits Naruto with more chakra. Suki wanders deeper into her own mind. She walks towards where the sun's warmth was coming from. It was fainter, an undercurrent if you will. But she felt something. This chakra was more wild and dangerous than Naruto's. This chakra was also aroused? Yes, I can feel the nine tails. No, you don't want to know, Suki answers Tsunade. I assume he's angry about the jutsu, Tsunade says. Yes, Suki says, lying. There was no way, she was going to tell Tsunade the truth. Who knew that tailed beasts even had a drive? Then again, it was possible that she was just processing his emotions wrong. It was such a faint thread. Maybe she had been projecting her own reaction onto the fox for God knows what reason. Interesting. She lied for us. Oh, and for future reference brat, when the Uchiha lies her eyelashes flicker just once, QB says. How do you know that? Naruto asks. I have nothing better to do than to watch what you are doing. I've had ample time to observe her mannerisms, QB responds. Good, now we'll have to test the link. Suki, I'm going to undo your restraints. I want you to nick Naruto with a kunai, she says. Wait, what? Naruto yells. We have to see if the physical component of the link is as functional as the mental one, Tsunade explains. Fine by me. He so had this one coming, Suki says as she was released. Whoa there. Remember she said a nick. You know, don't try to slash my throat open or something, Naruto says raising his hands defensively. I won't do that. I have no way of knowing yet if the physical link is active yet, Suki says and makes a dramatic show of twirling the kunai menacingly. I loathed Madara, but I must admit there is something appealing when she shows slight hints of her ancestor's sadistic personality, QB says conversationally. Shut up. It's not funny, Naruto yells at him mentally. As Naruto was arguing with Kurama, Suki cuts the blonde ever so slightly by pressing the tip of the kunai onto his finger. Naruto yips in pain. He'd had worse, of course. It was the ninja version of a paper cut, but it still stung like a bitch. Damn it, she growls under her breath, feeling the cut. The brunette looks down at her finger. Yes, there was just a speck of blood on her finger. She might as well have pricked herself. This so wasn't good. As Suki was analyzing the various ways this meant she was fucked, something shocking happened. Suddenly something wrapped around her injured digit. It was hot and rough. It glided along the small cut, soothingly. It took a minute for Suki to register what was happening. Naruto was sucking on her finger. She supposed that shouldn't have surprised her. Naruto's instinct was to try to help anyone in pain. But the gesture still rocked her to the core. She's shocked. But she is enjoying the attention anyway, QB says surprisingly smugly. That's a first. Suki actually wanting to be touched, Naruto replies. Suki's eyes activate. She pulls her hand away from Naruto. She blamed the jutsu. There was no way she'd ever be that affected by someone kissing it better, so to speak. Another thing to note about Uchihas. Their eyes also change when they are aroused, QB says to Naruto. She's just pissed that I did it. Suki doesn't, you know, Naruto replies. I assure you that she does indeed possess a drive. It's just woefully ignored. QB decides to engage in a debate with Naruto. Why do I feel like you are talking about me with that fox? Suki says and raises an eyebrow. Shit, this whole feeling each other's feelings thing is going to be more complicated than I thought, Naruto exclaims. Oh, no reason, Naruto says sheepishly. Naruto, you are a horrible liar. But whatever. Tsunade, the link is mentally and physically active, she sighs. Excellent. I do think it would be best if you both stayed in the hospital for a few days. It's important to monitor you. You can share this room, Tsunade states. You want us to share a room, Naruto and Suki say in disbelief. Your minds are now linked. Sharing a room should be easy, Tsunade says with a smirk and heads off. I hope we have fire and tornado insurance, Shizune says when Tsunade walks out. Of course we do. They might not be able to hurt each other, but destroying the hospital isn't unlikely, the Hokage says. You realize that this was a crazy idea and is probably going to bite us all in the ass, my lady, Shizune wonders out loud. It's a gamble, but one I have absolutely no hope it will pay off, Tsunade says merrily. And your gambles only work if you don't think they will, Shizune says. Exactly. So this will work, because I think it won't, Tsunade says sagely. My lady, you are a genius, her assistant replies. Yes, I know, Tsunade smiles smugly. Suki looks at Naruto and then looks away rather quickly. Naruto might not have realized what she felt during the bonding, but Kyuubi likely did. Kyuubi was the devil to Naruto's angel. She bites her lower lip. She hoped that the Nine Tails wasn't in a chatty mood. That could get embarrassing fast. Suki, don't be like that, Naruto says. Be like what? She asks, raising an eyebrow. All closed off. We are linked now, so you can't shut me out as easily as you did before, the blonde replies. Suki distinctly picked up both happiness and sadness at that statement. It didn't take a genius to realize the sadness was at the fact she had shut him out before. Happiness that now she wouldn't be able to do so as easily. Naruto, despite my best efforts, I have never been able to shut you out. You possess absolutely no sense of self-preservation and chased me all over the 5 nations for years. This was even after I nearly killed you multiple times, she says. Because you're my friend. I wasn't just going to leave you like that, Naruto yells at her. Because I'm your friend? That's insane. Do you know how fucking insane that is? That's it? That's the reason why you did all of that? For God's sakes, even Sakura and Kakashi had given up on me. But not you. I really think that I probably hit you in the head too hard a few too many times. I must have scrambled your brains, Suki finishes. You do have to admit, she has a point. I was hoping that after puberty hit, you wouldn't be so damn oblivious, Kyuubi says. Oblivious to what? Naruto asks. Humans make everything so complicated. In my species, the female goes into heat. If the male is strong enough or impresses her, they couple. Sometimes it produces offspring, sometimes not. If they grow to love each other, as humans call it, they become mates, Kyuubi explains. You want to try that in English, you big fleabag, Naruto yells at him. You are hopeless. Completely hopeless, Kyuubi sighs and settles down for a nap. You are doing it again, Suki growls. Doing what again? Naruto asks. Talking to the fox. Sometimes you go quiet, but I know you aren't zoning out. Now I can actually feel that you are talking to him, the brunette answers. Wait, you can feel it? Can you hear the words? Naruto asks, suddenly really nervous about this whole bonding thing. No, I can't hear words. The Nine Tails is fainter than your signature. But it's like if put sugar in a glass of water. It's there, she couldn't quite explain the sensation that was Kyuubi's presence. Oh good. I mean, I don't know if Kurama would really want his thoughts broadcasted, ya know, Naruto replies. Kurama, Suki repeats, completely baffled. That's Kyuubi's real name, the blonde clarifies. Ah, I see, Suki couldn't think of a snappy comeback for that one. I mean it though, Naruto says, obviously referring to the shutting him out discussion. I know you do, she murmurs softly and looks out the window. It was as if the universe was mocking the last Uchiha in some cosmic way. Outside the hospital, it was a beautiful summer day. The sky was as blue as Naruto's eyes. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. It was warm, but not too hot. There was a soothing light breeze. The birds were chirping. The flowers were in full bloom. It was like a damn postcard. People were milling about the street. They were walking, talking, laughing, shopping, and in the case of some children, even playing. If one were to look outside the window now, they never would have guessed that the world had very nearly ended as they knew it. They could have all easily ended up in dreamscape forever. Suki, it's over. The truth is getting out there now about Itachi. He can rest in peace. We defeated Madara. There's no reason why things can't go back to the way things were before, Naruto says. You mean with Sakura hanging on my every word? You eating ramen by the truckload, and Kakashi reading his damn books, she asks with a slight hint of amusement. Yeah, well maybe not the Sakura thing anymore. I think she's kinda scared of you now to be honest, Naruto says. Good. She's annoying, Suki replies. I never got why you don't like her, the blonde wonders. Naruto caught a flash of something. It was like thunder in the back of his mind. He goes towards the sound. He sees it, a memory. It wasn't his memory or Kyuubi's though. It was Suki's. He could see Sakura talking to her. It was clearly from a long time ago. Sakura's hair was still long. She was talking about Naruto not having parents and that's why he didn't have any manners. Suki had gone off on Sakura. For Suki, who was an orphan like Naruto, this was a bridge too far. Alone. Isolated. It's not about your parents scolding you. You have no idea what it means to be alone, she'd said. Quoted from the show. Closing parenthesis. So that's why. Suki, she was just a kid. She didn't understand. It's not like she was lick, Naruto starts to say. Like us. Alone. Orphans. I know. There are other reasons, she says with a shrug. Another thunder clap. Well actually several small ones. Images kept flying by. Sakura hitting Naruto. Sakura yelling at him. Somehow Naruto got the impression that Suki was, to put it mildly, pissed about this. You're mad that she hit me? That's a little hypocritical. I mean like you said you tried to kill me several times, Naruto says. Yes, I'm the only one allowed to beat you up. That is my job, Suki answers as if this was the most obvious thing in the world. Women make absolutely no sense, the blonde says. It makes more sense than you chasing my ass for years, she responds. In your defense, that is a fine ass by human standards. Trust me, I've been around since the Sage of Sixth Path's days. I've seen a lot of human females. Vicious she may be, but a damn fine rear, Kyuubi offers, helpfully. Kurama, just shut up. She might be able to hear you eventually and I don't want to have to save your furry ass, Naruto replied. Why do I get the feeling that I should smack you for something, Suki says with a raised eyebrow. Not my fault. It was Kurama, Naruto said. Well it looks like we are stuck sharing a room for a while. Tsunade is a stubborn bitch, Suki responds with a sigh. I wonder who would win that fight. Now those are two alpha females. Plus it'd be glorious with all that cleavage bouncing around. Tsunade is too old for my tastes but one has to admit, that she looks very good for her age, Kyuubi says. I think you spent too much time around pervy sage, Naruto scoffs. If I didn't share the same body as you, I'd say you were too young to notice females. Honestly, Kyuubi returns the scoffing. I can't believe you just called Granny Tsunade a bitch, Naruto says. I did. Please don't tell me after everything you've been through. You are scared of bad words, Suki says mockingly. I am not. I'm just saying she's not. The blonde defends the fifth Hokage. That's because she likes you. She doesn't like me. Mostly because I hurt you. I don't blame her. I know that your father was her best friend's student. Naturally, she's attached to you. I'm just saying, facts are facts. She would have loved to mount my head on a pike, Suki says casually. She's not like that, Naruto insists. Alright, I admit I was being dramatic about the pike. But she would have loved for me to be killed. She said as much. She only spared me because of you and without me. It's doubtful that Madara would have been defeated, the last Uchiha says. She actually said that, the blue-eyed ninja asks. She did. You can ask her yourself, if you don't believe me, Suki responds. Oh, Naruto didn't seem to know what to say to that. The sunshine that had flickered at the back of her mind, briefly went black. An overwhelming void of loneliness. Suki somehow knew that Naruto was picturing her death. It's really not healthy to be that attached to one person, she mutters. Maybe not, but I will protect my friends. That includes you, whether you like it or not, Ice Princess, Naruto chirps merrily. It was then that Suki realized that at least some of the time, Naruto was faking it. He had a smile and his voice was happy, but on the inside he was anything happy at the moment. He was acting. You are such a faker, Suki yells. Backquote, faker, Naruto blinks. The Eternal Sunshine Act. You sound happy but you aren't, she says and rolls her eyes. Wait, you're mad that I don't freak out more, Naruto asks in confusion. No, I'm mad because it's like a law of the universe. You're supposed to be the happy idiot. That's your role. It's comforting even though it makes no fucking sense, the dark-haired ninja says. Well, even though that doesn't make any sense, I'm happy that you are expressing yourself in a way that doesn't involve trying to stab me, Naruto replies, with a genuine happiness this time. Unfortunately, I can't stab you now, unless I want to stab myself, she says and looks at her nails in a bored fashion. Like I said, vicious. I admire this in a woman, Kyuubi says. Kurama, you are really messed up in the head, Naruto replies. Suki stretches. Then she tenses up. Suddenly she lets out a startled cry of pain. Fuck her shoulder. Shit, Naruto says, gets closer, and gets behind Suki. Damn it. Naruto, what are you doing? Suki says as she clutches her shoulder. Helping. Pervy Sage taught me this, he responds. The Sharingan wielder was speechless. God only knows what Jiraiya had taught Naruto. It's not like that, Naruto protests. Alright, she replies cautiously. Well, you did say Jiraiya taught you. Can't blame her for being suspicious, Kyuubi offers. Kurama, Naruto exclaims. Naruto decides to tune out Kyuubi for the moment. He starts working on Suki's shoulder. It was rare that he got to touch her outside of fighting. Idly he wondered how she kept her skin so soft. He hears Suki say, as she leans back into the massage. The fire was back, but this time he got the impression of it taking the form of a cat. Said fire cat was purring. That was new one. If there's anything you want to find out, his defenses are lower now, Kyuubi says. Naruto knew he shouldn't. It was wrong to take advantage of the situation. But Suki never shared anything voluntarily. He had to know that she wasn't going to try to run off again. At least that's what he told himself. There was one memory that was flickering below the surface. Naruto decides to explore it. It was Suki. She was probably around 14. It was definitely after she left the village. There was no headband and she was wearing that training outfit that Orochimaru gave her. Naruto could sense that she was reluctant about something. She knocks on the door of the room Kabuto had his medical lab set up. The younger Suki bites her lower lip and takes a deep breath before entering. Ah, Suki. Your physical isn't scheduled for another month. Did you hurt yourself during your training? Kabuto asks. Not exactly, she mutters. Did Orochimaru tell you to get me? The silver-haired ninja questions. No. It's a medical issue. At least I think it is anyway, she murmurs. Suki, I cannot help you if you do not tell me what it is, Kabuto says. It's my Sharingan, she starts. That does sound serious. Is your vision deteriorating? He questions. No. My vision is fine, she replies. Good. Are you growing tired more easily, after using it? Kabuto asks. No. It's activating without my consciously doing so, she answers. I see. When does this happen? The medic interrogates her. It varies. Sometimes it's during fighting, other times not, Suki replies. Odd. If it was only in battle, I'd say it was just a reflex. Suki, how old are you again? Kabuto questions. 14. I don't see what that has to do with anything, she says. It's probably just the hormones of puberty affecting it. Which is odd, as you seem to have been an early bloomer in that regard anyway, he says. The brunette was speechless and looked absolutely horrified by that implication. I am asking purely out of a scientific perspective. Were you aroused when your Sharingan activated? Kabuto asks. Pervert, Suki says and smacks Kabuto. Oh, I'll take that as a yes. Fascinating. The Sharingan appears to be triggered by arousal as well as anger or fear, he muses. Fuck you, Suki storms off, feeling furious and embarrassed as hell. Suki, you are far too young to make that sort of offer, Kabuto says. That's it. Chidori, she yells and charges at him. That's when the memory faded out. During watching this memory, Naruto kept up the massaging. Suki was making sounds that he hadn't heard her make before. It wasn't anything shocking. Little sighs of contentment. Suki didn't realize that Naruto had watched one of her memories. Nor did she realize that her Sharingan had activated. Naruto did though. Naruto being Naruto, well, he wasn't going to be quiet about that. Wow, didn't think a shoulder massage would be enough to get you going, the blonde observes. Loser, what the hell are you talking about now? The other ninja asks him. Your Sharingan activated, he says. So what? Suki asks. I'm still getting used to this bond thing and saw a memory of yours with Kabuto explaining stuff about the Sharingan, he answers. You what? Suki yells in outrage. Sorry, it just kinda happened, Naruto says and decides backing up from a pissed off Suki was in his best interest. You are so damn lucky that I can't hurt you, without hurting myself, she says, twitching. Oh right, you can't hurt me now. Well, not unless you are willing to take what you dish out, Naruto states happily. I hate you so much right now, she growls. Not what your Sharingan says, he couldn't resist teasing her. Clearly it is on the fritz. I should have the bitch look at it, she says neutrally. Makes sense I guess that you'd be sensitive. I mean you almost never let anyone touch you. So you were going to respond, he tries to calm her down. Naruto, I swear to all the gods and goddesses that if you ever tell anyone about that Kabuto memory, I will find a way to make your life a living hell, she threatens. Alright, I got it. You got that whole scary threat thing down pat. Madara would be proud, Naruto says and gulps. Good, Suki replies. Suki settles down. Now that she had suitably threatened the blonde, she could relax. Naruto apparently needed his life threatened at least once a day. Rarely did a full 24 hours pass without someone trying to kill him. Honestly, she was surprised Kurama wasn't a cat-tailed beast. Naruto definitely had more than 9 lives. It would also match his number of tails. Guess you are feeling better. Still be careful with that shoulder at least for a bit, Naruto says. Yeah, she nods at the shoulder thing. You should probably try to sleep it off, he says. For once, you're right, she says and settles into the bed. Hey, what's that supposed to mean, Naruto says, flailing. That you are an idiot, Suki smirks and wraps some blankets around herself. You are such an ice princess, he says, twitching. Whatever. The dark-haired ninja closes her eyes and soon her breathing evens out. Did she really fall asleep instantly, Naruto wonders. It's quite likely. Given the type of lifestyle she's lived for the last few years, she trained herself to get her rest when she could, Kyuubi says. Maybe. That's so sad, that even sleep is training to her, the blonde replies. It kept her alive. That's all that really matters, Kurama offers. Yeah, if she died, I'd kill her, Naruto responds. That makes absolutely no sense. Then again your actions with Raven Fur have never made sense, Kyuubi says and shakes his head. Who the heck is Raven Fur? The blue-eyed man asks. One of my names for Suki. Her hair color is the color of a raven's feathers. But she is a vicious vixen, so I say fur instead. Raven feather just doesn't have the same ring to it, Kyuubi explains. Okay then, Naruto didn't know how to respond to that. Naruto shakes his head and settles down. There was only one bed. But they had slept next to each other on missions as genin. So it wasn't the first time they'd slept together. Not in that way, Kyuubi. He falls asleep shortly after settling in. Naruto thought he was dreaming at first. He saw a much younger Suki, probably around 7. He follows her to her family's home. That's when he saw it. He'd heard about it from Suki and other people of course. But it was another to actually witness it. There was blood everywhere, the child sobbing over the fresh corpses of her parents. Then her brother had appeared. There had been such relief at seeing Itachi. Until she found out he'd done it. Didn't matter that later they found out why Itachi had done it. Child Suki didn't know this. Child Suki probably wouldn't have understood, even if she had known. That's when Suki woke up screaming. Naruto could feel her terror, her confusion, her sense of betrayal, and her fury. She looked like she didn't realize it had been a nightmare yet. Well, maybe nightmare wasn't the right term. It had actually happened. A disoriented Suki was a very dangerous Suki. Suki, it's okay. It was just a dream, he says. Shit, this could get bad. He grabs her and pins her underneath him. At first it was a struggle. The last Uchiha seriously didn't seem to realize she was awake yet and that Naruto was not Itachi. Kyuubi, can we do anything with the bond? She's not calming down, Naruto asks desperately. I have a suggestion, but it might earn you a Chidori to the nuts, he offers. I'll take it. She's going to hurt herself or someone else like this, he says. She's an Uchiha. Uchihas all have a birthmark. This birthmark is particularly sensitive to touch. Hers is on her left hip, Kyuubi says. You sure about this? Naruto asks. Kyuubi assures him that he was. Naruto gulps. Jesus, Suki might think that he was trying to grope her or something. But he had to do something. He slides his hand underneath the top of her pants, gliding it all along her hip. He had said her left hip after all. If he touched all of it, it stood to reason he'd get the birthmark at some point. The transformation was stunning to say the least. Suddenly, her eyes lulled to the back of her head. Suki arches her hips into his touch and lets out a soft gasp. Then her eyes start to focus. Yeah, that had worked. What happened, she asks. You had a nightmare. I had to restrain you. So that's what happened that night, he said. Quote ellipsis. You saw that, Suki asks. All of it. But it's okay. It's over now. Itachi's name is cleared. They can all rest in peace and you can move on. There's no more need for nightmares, he says reassuringly. You weren't supposed to see that, she says. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. You okay, he asks. I'll be fine. It's nothing I haven't dreamt of 1,000 times before, she states. Suki, Naruto didn't know what to say. He does something that normally would have been classified as very stupid. He pulls her into a hug. Surprisingly, Suki not only lets him, she rests her head on his shoulder. Thank you, she murmurs. Suki wasn't sure exactly when it happened, but at some point she must have fallen back asleep. It seemed that Naruto had as well. How did she know this? Because when she woke up she realized a couple things. The first, there was warm air blowing onto her neck. The second is she was much warmer than she normally was. The third was something was wrapped around her waist, something strong. So naturally she looked back. She'd been cuddled up against Naruto. His head was close enough to hers that she could feel his breathing. His arms were wrapped around her. It didn't surprise her that Naruto was a cuddler. That was just who he was. He was the type of person that craved attention. Hell, he didn't even care if it was positive or negative, it seemed. He just couldn't stand to be ignored. Suki, desperate to save her reputation as a badass, tries to wiggle out of his hold without waking the blonde. If he saw her cuddling, he'd never let her live that shit down. This was just unacceptable. Well, Raven Fur is up and trying to be sneaky, Kyuubi says in what Naruto seriously thought was an amused tone. What are you talking about? Naruto was still half asleep and hadn't noticed Suki's attempts to get out of cuddling position. Wake up, Brad, and have a look for yourself, Kurama answered. Alright, Naruto says and opens his eyes. Never would have thought of you as a cuddler, Naruto says. Damn it, I am not, Suki scoffs. Kyuubi says differently, the blonde replied. Damn voyeuristic fox, the brunette growls. I always knew that deep down, you were really just a cuddly kitten, Naruto says. He realized he was going to pay for that one. But it was too much fun messing with her, not to take the shot. If you had told him a month ago that Suki would be back in the leaf and sleeping next to him, he would have said you were nuts. Obviously, he wanted to bring her back. But the whole sleeping in the same bed thing was completely out there. Granted, it was a hospital bed. He still counted it though. He doubted Suki would let many people lay next to her. When a ninja was asleep, they were vulnerable. Suki never let her guard down. Oh, that's it, Suki yells, rolls around, flips them, and pins the blue-eyed ninja underneath her. She's glorious in her fury. She would have made a fine-tailed beast, Kyuubi says conversationally. I guess in your world that is supposed to be a compliment, Naruto shoots back. Of course. You may wish to dodge now, Kurama advises. Naruto didn't have time to dodge. Suki got the punch in. That's when she cries out in pain, at the same time as Naruto. The last Uchiha covers her face, as though she was the one to take the hit. Damn it. Forgot about the physical aspect of the bond, Suki says, clutching her injury. The last Uchiha had always had a vicious hook. Whoever had come up with the phrase, "you hit like a girl," clearly had never been sucker punched by the brunette. Fuck, that hurt. Thanks to the bond, Naruto knew it hurt her as well. Here, let me see it, Naruto says. It's fine. I've taken worse, Suki answers. Why do you always have to fight me? I'm trying to help you, the blonde says and grabs Suki, whose hold had loosened thanks to nursing her injured face, pulling her underneath him. Habit, she murmurs looking up at him. It was fucking infuriating. Every time he tried to help her, she'd always try to pull away. He knew she was independent. But it'd be nice to know that she trusted him, once in a while. Naruto was about to tell Suki off for this, when she looked up at him. There was something about the last Uchiha's eyes that had always distracted Naruto. It didn't matter if they were their natural midnight black color, the ruby red of the Sharingan, or the lavender of the Rinnegan. He just liked having her eyes focused on him too much. He wasn't really sure why. Probably because when he was a kid, he realized that she knew what it was like to be alone. So if she paid attention to him, it meant more than if the others did. Yeah, it's swelling pretty bad, Naruto says, keeping Suki pinned down with one hand, and leans over to the counter to get some medicinal cream. It was indeed swelling bad. Suki hadn't held anything back in that punch. There was no way he was going to let her try to play the tough girl. He made sure his hold on her was firm as he applied it. "Looks like you need it more than I do," she says smugly, noting Naruto's black eye. "We both need it. If you hurt me, you get hurt just as badly." That and vice versa. Naruto rubs the cream along her face gently. Gentle was not a word she associated with Naruto. The blonde was extreme in everything he did. He was loud, hyper, loyal to the point of stupidity, brave, strong, and wore his heart on his sleeve most of the time. She hated to admit it, but it did help. The brunette reaches for the cream. She was going to return the favor. That's when she realized Naruto still had her pinned down. "Naruto, let me up. I'll do you next," Suki states. Naruto was shocked enough that Suki wanted to tend to his injury, that he let her up. She grabs the cream and begins applying it to his painfully black eye. If he didn't know better, he'd say Suki felt guilty. Why he didn't know? They'd definitely roughed each other a hell of a lot more than that in the past. "That should do it," she says, having reclaimed her spot of being on top of him. It was at that moment that Tsunade walked in. She was treated to the sight of Suki Uchiha on top of Naruto Uzumaki, straddling his waist. Naturally, that looked a lot more suggestive than it actually was. "That wasn't exactly what I had in mind when I said you should share a room," Tsunade says dryly. "It's not like that, Granny Tsunade," Naruto yells. Damn, why did people always walk in on them at the worst times? Naruto had spent years traveling with Jiraiya. Despite popular opinion, he wasn't completely naive. Having a woman straddling his waist and on top of him, well, it looked pretty suggestive. Suki was probably going to go nuts at the implication Tsunade was making. Go on, brat, this should be highly entertaining," the busty blonde replies. Naruto was being a loser as always. He pissed me off, so I decked him, but because of the bond, we both got black eyes. So I was just applying some cream to his injury, Suki rattles off, as if she had rehearsed this. And she had to a certain degree. Many a time did Suki have to explain to Kakashi some rather interesting scenes he walked in on during their training. "Alright, let me see how bad you got each other," she sighs and looks. "Well, Suki, you did a good job fucking yourself up, along with Naruto." "Nothing I can't handle though," she says and uses medical jutsu to fix their injuries. "Thanks," Suki murmurs. Considering the bond, it might be best if you two lived together. Suki's district is obviously bigger, Tsunade suggests. "Wait, you want us to live together?" Naruto blinks. "That's a very bad idea," Suki says. "You've gone on missions together. You managed not to kill each other. You can't hurt each other without hurting yourself. That takes most of the risk out of it," the Hokage argues. "We'll drive each other crazy," the brunette argues. "You've always done that. Besides, it will reassure the council. Naruto is the only one who can handle you if you snap," Tsunade says and seems to have put her foot down. "I've never actually been to Suki's place before," Naruto muses. Wow, he was actually going to the Uchiha district. Even more unexpectedly, he was going to live in it. He wondered what Suki's house was like. Was she a neat freak? Yeah, he figured she probably has. Suki was pretty OCD about being clean. He remembered as a genin walking in on Suki smoothing the wrinkles out of her sleeping bag. "That's because you are like a bull in a china shop," Suki scoffs. "Hey," Naruto says. "It's true," she says shrugging. "Bull or not, he's going." "That's that," Tsunade states. "We'd have to live in the same house. It's the only one that's inhabitable right now. I was never able to maintain the entire district. I only focused on keep my home decent," Suki begins. "That's fine. You already shared a hospital bed. Sharing the same house shouldn't be an issue. I'm assuming that there is more than one bedroom," Tsunade reasons. "Yes," Suki says with some bitterness. Naruto caught a flicker in Suki's mind. He couldn't hear the words, but the images were rather clear. A picture of Itachi flashed in one room. Another of her dead parents. Then her room. It was pretty clear what was on her mind. Which dead person's room should he take? "I'll take Itachi's, if that's okay with you. I mean, I knew him. I didn't know your parents. Seems more respectful to take the room of someone I knew," Naruto says. "That and he wasn't murdered in his room. Probably a good choice," Suki agrees. Suki, about your family. I mean, they aren't still around," Naruto asks. Naruto was suddenly bombarded by images of some very bloody-looking ghosts. The blonde was terrified of ghosts. Most ninjas didn't believe in that sort of thing. But Naruto did. He'd seen people brought back from the dead. Were ghosts really that much more unbelievable than that? Are you actually asking me, if my family is haunting my district? The brunette raises an eyebrow like he's not serious, is he? Well yeah, Naruto says sheepishly. I wish they were. But no. It's just me, his dark-haired teammate replies. Got it, Naruto says. Naruto felt a wave of loneliness crashing down on him. He knew it wasn't from him or Kyubi. Damn it, he couldn't believe how stupid he was. A thought struck him, alone. Always alone. You aren't alone, Naruto says. Huh, Suki looks confused. Wait, you heard that? The brunette processes what just happened. Yeah, I wasn't trying to. It was just really loud, the blonde says. Well, I see the bond is progressing quickly. It looks like if you feel something powerfully, it has a stronger chance of registering as actual words. Interesting, I'll have to make a notation of this, Tsunade states. But I don't hear thoughts from Naruto. Suki sounds slightly outraged. That wasn't fair that he could hear her thoughts, but not the other way around. Probably because the bond is so new. Likely you are also fighting it more than him. Naruto voluntarily entered this bond. You did not, the blonde woman explains. I guess that makes sense. So we can leave the hospital now, Suki asks. Yes, you can leave the hospital. You can head to Naruto's home and help him pack, she states. Fine. Anything is better than being stuck in a hospital. I really hate hospitals, Suki says. Naruto sees a memory flash in his mind's eye. Suki was 7. She woke up in a hospital bed. She'd overheard some medics discussing the massacre. Suki, it seemed, had a very good reason to hate hospitals. Naruto mostly hated them because needles were not fun. Yeah, let's get out of here, Naruto says and takes Suki's hand, running out of the room. He leads her to his apartment. Once again, Suki had another reason to hate the village that Itachi had died for. Naruto had saved the world and his apartment was barely big enough for one person. Idiots. They should have given him a mansion and kissed his ass. Right, shouldn't take too long. I'll make some clothes and we'll be out of here in no time. Can you just toss whatever you see into boxes? Naruto asks merrily. Sure. Suki starts putting whatever she saw into boxes. Warning: Jiraiya's gag gift scene. She stops when she notices a box marked from Jiraiya to Naruto. Happy birthday. Use these wisely. For God's sakes, there was even a winky-faced Smiley on it. The last Uchiha had to know now. She knew it was a violation of privacy, but she doubted Naruto would actually care. Suki wasn't sure what she was expecting. A box of XL condoms definitely wasn't it though. In hindsight, this was Jiraiya, so maybe she should have seen that one coming. Pun intended. Do you have a lover I should know about? Suki asks dryly. What are you talking about? Naruto says, or maybe it was one of the 3 clones he'd created. Any more than 5 people in that apartment and it would be too cramped to move. 4 Narutos and 1 Suki. The box of condoms that Jiraiya gave you. Flavored as well. How considerate of him. Guess he got the size wrong though, Suki says and decides, oh yeah, she was getting him back for that cuddling comment. Oh, that was a gag gift. Wait, what do you mean he got the size wrong? Naruto asks. Says XL, Suki states and proves that no, she was not above size jokes. Quote ellipsis. Actually that's the right size. Naruto replies, perhaps a bit smugly. No way. I don't believe it. Not for 1 second, Suki replies, throwing them in the box. Want me to prove it? Naruto says. Suki was left speechless. That's what I thought. Well, that looks like everything, Naruto says. Suki wonders if he was actually serious. Would Naruto actually prove it? Naruto had never been shy. But he'd always seemed so innocent in that respect. She doubted he'd actually flash her. And yes, I would actually do it, Naruto says. Doubt it, Suki says more confidently than she felt. Naruto's voice was different than usual. She'd heard this tone a few times before. The one time that stood out in particular was against the fight with Madara. Yeah, he might just be crazy enough to flash her. But if she called his bluff, he'd back down. Besides, you don't have anything I haven't seen before, she states. End gag gift references. Wait, what? Naruto tries to process that. She's seen other men. Her scent tells me she's still an innocent though, Kyubi offers. That didn't help though. Naruto wasn't sure why, but that set him off. The thought of Suki around naked men had him seeing red. He tried to rationalize it. She'd been in the sound. Who knew what sort of freaky shit went on there? Had she actually taken a lover while she was there? She'd never seemed interested in anyone. But she did have a clan to restore. Maybe she'd decided to do it before killing Itachi. It'd be smarter to have a kid and restore the clan, before engaging in a potentially lethal battle. Before Suki could blink, she found herself pinned against the wall. The last Uchiha noticed that Naruto had activated Sage Mode. Shit, this was serious. Naruto, she says uncertainly. Who is he? Was it consensual? Naruto asks. I said that I had seen naked men before. I didn't say I slept with them. Suki would have normally scoffed. But the way he was holding her, she decided to treat this seriously. He might go QB and destroy his apartment at this rate. Oh, Naruto seems to believe her and loosens his grip slightly. I walked in on a couple of my Team Hawk teammates on accident while they were in the public bath. There were also a few men in the sound that I saw. Kabuto wanted to see me and was giving them their exams. Modesty wasn't something that was cared about in Orochimaru's village. Oh, and it is still none of your business, she says. Well, I'm glad that nothing bad happened, he finishes lamely, his eyes going back to normal. Me too. Seriously, what is up with you and pinning me? Suki asks. Well, it's the only way to make sure you don't run off so I can get answers out of you, Naruto replies. You can lie to her, but not to me. It's animal instinct. I can't blame you. She's in peak physical condition for a female. Strong, yet soft in all the proper places, QB says. You think I want to, with Suki? Naruto yells at the Nine Tails. I don't think, I know. You are an adult now. There's no shame in having desires, QB replies. You're so sick. She's my friend. I don't look at her that way. She's like my sister, the blonde says. Yes, and I'm really a cat demon, QB scoffs. Well, stop doing it. Just because you're STR, Suki starts to say. On second thought, hell no. She was not going to give him the bragging rights. She hated to admit it to herself. But Naruto was always physically stronger and had more chakra. Which she blamed the second part mostly on the damn fox. Naruto had access to a nearly limitless supply of chakra. She was faster and had better chakra control. If it was a battle of jutsus like Chidori versus Rasengan, she could hold her own or even beat him. If it came to close-range physical combat or her being pinned, Naruto had the advantage. As long as she wasn't pinned, she could evade and maybe tire him out. But once she was pinned, he was just physically stronger. Facts were facts. Though she really hated to admit this even in her own mind. Just because I'm what? Naruto asks. Forget it, Suki says. No, what were you going to say? The blonde questions. Nothing. It's nothing, the brunette answers. No, seriously, what were you going to say? Naruto asks again. Loser, drop it, Suki growls. QB, think you can figure it out? Naruto asks. Of course I can. I know female body language. She was submitting. Raven Fur is too proud to admit it, but she knows that she wouldn't have been able to get out of your hold. She was going to say you are physically stronger. Though I will grant that she is by far the smarter of you two, Kurama answers. Wait, she really thinks that? I finally got her to admit it. Well, sorta. Hey, what was that last part supposed to mean? Naruto growls. She's not the one who chased after the person who ran away and tried to kill her for years. She's smarter than you, the Nine Tails answers. Whatever. She's home. So I outsmarted her there, the blonde states. She's getting annoyed. She is aware we are communicating and probably figured out that she is the topic, QB warns. You were going to say that I was stronger, Naruto says smugly. You are such a loser, Suki says, rolling her eyes. Well, this loser can overpower you, Naruto responds cheerfully. Only if it comes down to brute strength. I can still Chidori your nuts off, if I have to, the last Uchiha replies. So you admit it. Wait, Chidori my nuts off? Damn Suki, you are vicious, Naruto shudders. And don't you forget it, she states. Well, let's head back to your place. I'm kinda curious to see what it's like really, Naruto says, grabbing his stuff and the clone's help. Empty, Suki replies. The way she said it was heartbreaking. Naruto places his hand on her shoulder. Suki looks up at him. Naruto was now about 6 inches taller than his teammate. It'll be less empty now, he says with a smile. Suppose so. I'll have to invest in earplugs to deal with your loudmouth, she responds, smirking. Suki got a flash of happiness. It was coming from Naruto. There was a sense of familiarity. He was happy that they were back to bickering like they had in the old days. Maybe things would work out after all. On the beautiful summer day, with the birds singing, it was almost possible to believe that things could get better. Suki leads Naruto to the Uchiha district. Honestly, at the moment the blonde reminded her of a golden retriever. She could picture him with his tail wagging, as he sniffed around the place. There wasn't much to see though. There were dozens of buildings, empty shops, some long since overgrown gardens, training grounds, and even a creek where they used to go swimming sometimes. But it was all so painfully empty. There were now more animals and weeds than people. This place is huge, Naruto says. Had to be. My clan used to be quite large, she says, and leads him to the only house that didn't look half reclaimed by nature. Jesus, you people must have been breeding like rabbits. Hundreds of people could have lived here, Naruto says. It was common for Uchiha families to have 3, 4, or sometimes more children. The more children you had, the greater the chance at least one of them would activate the Sharingan. Plus we needed a large gene pool to keep the bloodline going, Suki explains, as if this was all very obvious. So since it was just you and Itachi, your family was kinda small for your clan, Naruto asks. Mostly because we were the head clan and my father was a very busy man being the head of the police department. She opens the door of her house for Naruto to walk inside. So the head family usually had fewer kids, Naruto asks as he looks around. Yes, it was a way of limiting power struggles, she answered. Suki, your place is so, well, empty, the blonde says. I haven't lived here in years. More than likely Tsunade had it checked for clues to find me. She shrugs this question off. I'm starving. Think there's anything to eat left? Naruto asks. Well, there should still be some canned stuff. Suki answers and reaches to try to get to the top cupboard. Hang on, I'll get the step, she says, glaring at the cupboard as if it was mocking her. Nah, no need, Naruto says and scoops Suki up, so she was sitting on his shoulders. Naruto, what the hell, she flails and then clings. What, I'm just giving you a hand to grab the stuff. Plus you should see the look on your face. Now who is the scaredy cat, he says, referencing what she had called him years ago. Oh fuck you, Suki says, leaning over, and she grabs the cans. Well, since she is offering, I take her up on it. Years of unresolved UAL tension to work out, QB says. If you make one more crack like that about her, I'm going to fix you, Kurama, Naruto threatens. I'm not the one whose first instinct was to have her wrap her legs around our shoulders. Now normally, when you mount a vixen, if you want her legs over your shoulders, you have her laying down, not getting a fucking piggyback ride, QB continues. Lol, I'm not listening, Naruto yells at him. Honestly, I don't know how humans ever manage to breed, he scoffs. Alright, I got it. You can put me down now, Suki says. Naruto rolls Suki off his shoulders and she lands in his arms. He realizes how suggestive that looked and quickly helps her stand on her feet. He did not a Chidori in the face today. He'd had that happen to him more than once. It was not a fun experience. Naruto sincerely did not recommend it. I feel like I should smack you or the Fleabag. But I'm not sure why, she says as she begins cooking. You cook? Naruto asks, blinking. Yeah, did you think I was actually going to eat whatever some freak in the sound prepared? No, I didn't feel like getting poisoned or drugged. She explains why she could cook. I guess it's just weird to see you do something with your hands other than attacking, the blonde says. You want to see what else I can do with my hands, she responds by flipping him off. Ouch. Ice cold, Naruto states and places a hand over his heart, as if he was mortally wounded. You'll get over it, Suki says. You're so mean, Naruto says. The proper response to that would be to take the female and screw her into submission or at least a rather firm strike to the backside. But of course you are hopeless, QB says. Damn, you are worse than the pervy sage, Naruto yells at QB. You and QB fight a lot. Anyway, dinner's done. It'll be good for you to eat something other than ramen for a change, Suki says smugly. Yeah, I think of him as a very furry, perverted, older brother, Naruto says. Perverted? He's a tailed beast. Are there any female tailed beasts? Suki tilts her head as if pondering this possibility. Actually, his tastes seem to run more human, Naruto says and begins eating. How does that even work? the last Uchiha asks. I don't know. I guess he feels and sees what I feel, the blonde replies. So if you were to, the dark-haired woman trails off. Well, there are ways to shut him out temporarily. So not unless I wanted to, but yeah, if I didn't he'd see well everything, the blonde explains. Oh good, she answers. Why do you care anyway, the blue-eyed ninja asks. I don't, I was just curious, Suki scoffs. A few days later, Tsunade decides they're stable enough to do fieldwork. She assigns them a relatively easy mission. They were to go to bar and gather some information about a criminal ninja. The rumor was there was a ninja that was hiding him there. Said ninja owned the bar. Well, should be easy, I'll just use the jutsu. Guys are already drunk. Then you knock them out and we head off, Naruto says. That's not going to work this time, Suki says, still appalled that someone who could use Sage Mode would use something as juvenile as the jutsu. Why not, the blonde asks. This guy prefers brunettes, the last Uchiha answers. Oh, well I can probably just tweak my hair color, the leaf ninja says. You are horrible at transformation jutsus. I got this, she says, shaking her head. You got this, Naruto asks and raises an eyebrow. Suki starts towards the door. You don't even know how to flirt, the blue-eyed man says. I do. I just usually choose not to, she says as she darts inside. She's bluffing, right? Naruto asks. I doubt it. You should know Raven Fur doesn't bluff. Let's go watch the fireworks, Kyubi responds. I got a bad feeling about this. Naruto mutters as much to himself as to Kyubi. Suki finds an empty seat at the bar. She makes sure to sit at one that didn't have anyone sitting next to her. A nice way to broadcast, I'm here alone. She places her head in her hand and makes sure to cross her legs in a way that showed them off. For good measure, she orders a hard alcoholic drink. Now if her training at the Sound had taught her anything, this should elicit a response in about 60 seconds. It took 35 seconds. Suki considered that to be a record. Well, at least the ninja she was going to have to pretend to be interested in was fairly attractive. If she had to guess, she'd place him around 25. Medium-length brown hair, chocolate brown eyes, fairly large build. She'd definitely seen worse. Suki could work with this. What's a pretty thing like you do sitting here all alone, he asks. Alright, he lost some points for the lame pickup line. Again, she'd heard worse, but honestly. 5/10. Oh well, that meant she didn't have to try too hard. Waiting for you, she says with a sultry smile. Well, in that case, I shouldn't keep you waiting much longer. You want to dance, he asks. I'd love to, she answers and takes his hand, leading him to the dance floor, with a seductive sway of her hips. It was immature, she knew. But she couldn't resist going all out. Naruto had said she didn't know how to flirt. She'd show the idiot. Watch and learn, loser. Just because she wasn't a fangirl, didn't mean she wasn't capable of letting a man know she was interested. Or at least in this case pretending to be interested. But details. She's smiling. Suki never fucking smiles. Wait, did you know she could do that with her hips? Naruto asks Kyubi. She's trying to convince the idiot that she wants to sleep with him. Smiling is a requirement. And I suspected as much. She's always been flexible in battle, Kyubi answers. You don't think she actually likes him, do you? Naruto asks. Negative. That isn't the scent of an aroused female. That's the scent of a female who is enjoying fucking with you, as humans say, the Nine-Tails responds. So where you from? The ninja asks as he dances against Suki. Suki leans into him. She runs her hands along his neck and over his chest as she keeps at least an inch or two between them. Her back was to him, but that was all right. She suspected he was more interested in her assets than her face anyway. Besides, this way, she didn't have to keep a straight face. I'm around. I don't think where a person has been is as important as where they are going, she answers vaguely as the man wraps his arms around her waist. A woman of mystery. I like that, he purrs into her ear and his hands slide to her rear. Suki bit back the impulse to punch him. But she had to do this right. Now to get him out of here. They didn't need witnesses when they drug his dumbass off. Damn, this felt tacky. Oh well. You want to get out of here? She leans back, almost like she was going to kiss him, but ends up whispering into his ear. Thought you'd never ask. Lead the way, beautiful, he says. Wonderful. She leads him outside, by the hand, with a joyful bounce in her step, looking back at him in a come-hither way. Alright, brat, that would be your see you. Kyubi didn't get to finish his sentence. Naruto comes flying out of nowhere and slams that ninja into the wall. Suki winces. She was positive she heard a few bones crunch. Naruto, you know that we are supposed to take him alive, right? She asks dryly. That's when she felt it. It wasn't her mind. Suki wrongly thought it was Kyuubi's. There was just a blind rage. It was primal. Fuck, Naruto was really going to kill this dumbass if she didn't step in. Naruto, that's enough, she yells at him. Yeah, that didn't work. Bam, smack, crunch. Naruto's eyes were red. Oh yeah, once again she thought Kyuubi was in the driver's seat. She goes into Naruto's head. Suki had been there once before and seen the Nine Tails. How the hell the Nine Tails physically fit inside of Naruto, she wasn't sure. He was easily the size of a hotel. But she digressed. Alright furball. While I was tempted to do it myself, we need him alive. If you keep that up, he's not going to be for much longer, Suki says. Uchiha, this time it was not my doing. Naruto is doing this of his own accord. I have no control over it, Kurama responds. Wait, Naruto is doing this, she asks, blinking. Yes, you may wish to intervene if you want the hostage to live, Kyuubi offers. Shit, Suki yells and leaves Naruto's mind. The last Uchiha tackled Naruto the ground. Was he really that upset some guy had grabbed her ass? Then again, this was Naruto. He was pretty damn innocent. He'd probably view it as someone disrespecting his friend and just have to play the white knight. Naruto, knock it off, she growls. That seemed to snap Naruto out of it. His eyes go back to their normal blue and he looks up at her. He mutters a sorry. Sorry? Naruto, you just knocked half of his teeth out and probably cracked a couple of his ribs. Not to mention the black eye, she says. Anyway, let's get back, she says and gets off of him. She ties up the now unconscious ninja and drags him behind her. Considering how royally Naruto had just fucked him up, she doubted he was in the position to put up much of a fight. But well, better safe than sorry. Suki felt what she could only describe as a dark pleasure. She recognized it for what it was. She'd experienced it herself more than once. It was joy at another's pain. But she never would have thought she'd feel it coming from Naruto. Kyuubi yes, Naruto no. She was so startled, she had to look back. Naruto looked normal. He even had the decency to look guilty. But he didn't feel guilty. If they were linked, she wouldn't have picked up on it. Naruto, it seemed, was a very skilled actor. Naruto, she asks a bit uncertainly. Yeah, Suki, he responds. You okay? The last Uchiha felt unsettled. Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry I got a bit carried away there. Just don't like trash like that groping my friends, he offers a sunny smile. Right, Suki said and was stunned by the knowledge that this was the first time that Naruto had ever lied to her. I'll take him to Tsunade. Why don't you make some clones and see if you can't start on cleaning up the rest of the district? It's about time that it was restored, she asks. Oh sure, make me do your cleaning, Naruto sighs. Not my fault you are a master at shadow clones and have more energy than me. She heads off, draping the unconscious ninja over her shoulder. Naruto bounds off towards the Uchiha district. Suki bites her lower lip and rushes to the Hokage tower. She knocks and heads inside once Tsunade lets her in. Suki, where is Naruto? She asks suspiciously. He's helping me get a kickstart on cleaning up my district. I thought it best I return the hostage, the last Uchiha said. Suki, what the hell happened to him? That man is bleeding heavily from the mouth, has his black eye, and judging by the boot prints on shirt, probably some broken ribs, Tsunade exclaims. Well, Naruto, she starts to say, not sure how to explain what happened outside the bar. You're telling me that Naruto did this? But this guy is just a chunin. There was absolutely no reason to use this level of force, the busty Hokage said. Yes, he did it. I know. I think Naruto knows that too, she says, suddenly finding her feet very interesting. What happened? Be specific. Did the Nine Tails take control? She growls out. Well, I decided to draw the target away from the crowd by using seduction tactics, Suki starts. Quote ellipsis. An oldie, but a goodie. There's a reason why it's so often employed. Alright, so sounds normal so far. Continue, she answers. Flirted and danced with him a bit. Got the guy to follow me outside. Naruto tore into him, Suki finishes. I have a hard time believing that Naruto would be that vicious over a little dancing and flirtation. What did the guy try to pull? She asks raising an eyebrow. He got a little grabby, Suki says with a shrug. Define a little grabby, Tsunade orders. Alright, he grabbed my ass. Naruto is Naruto. He always has to play the knight in shining armor. I think that's probably what triggered it. Honestly, I thought that maybe Kyuubi was calling shots. But I went inside Naruto's head and talked to the furball. He said it was Naruto, the dark-haired woman elaborates. You are capable of going inside his head and speaking with the 9 tails, she asks in disbelief. Yes. It has to do with my Sharingan. I was able to do that long before the bond ever took place. I only used it once before though, she answers. Right, well you are linked to him now. Let me know if his behavior is unusual in any other way. Perhaps it's possible some of your aggression simply transferred to him. Were you angry when the man grabbed you? The medic asks. Well yes, but I wasn't that angry, Suki states. Odd. Well Naruto has always been rather empathetic. Maybe you considered it an annoyance. But he considered unacceptable. So he snapped, she supplies. Maybe, Suki agrees uncertainly. You don't sound too convinced. Is there something you aren't telling me? Tsunade demands to know. No, nothing. Just a little freaked out. Naruto's not naturally violent like that. That's more my thing. She tries to come up with a reasonable excuse fast. Alright, well he'll be waiting for you. I'll see you later, she says, waving the Uchiha off. Meanwhile back in the Uchiha district, Naruto had made a bunch of clones. He knew he should feel guilty about roughing that creep up. But he didn't. If anything, he was upset that he hadn't gotten a few more punches in. Brat, you need to calm yourself. While killing a rival male might be perfectly acceptable for demons, it is not for humans. Besides, Raven Fur is not stupid. She will realize that something is amiss, if she hasn't already. Do you wish to alarm her? Your minds are linked now. She will pick up on your higher aggression levels if you continue this line of thinking, Kyuubi states. Rival male? He's not my rival. The guy was a chunin, Naruto responds. Rival for a female's attention. I told you that she wasn't interested in him. Her scent was not receptive. Your reaction was stupid, Kyuubi tells him. You think I was jealous of that piece of trash, Naruto yells. I don't think so, I know so. You just won't admit it to yourself. The Uchiha is perfectly in touch with her dark side. Yours is so well hidden, you don't realize it's there yourself. But it is. You need to rein in your impulses, Kurama explains. Don't know what you are talking about. My dark side? The guy totally deserved it, the blonde says. Humans, Kyuubi mutters in disgust. Suki walks back into the district. She blinks seeing all the clones running around. Naruto never did anything halfway, but this was still something to see. Hey, loser. I'm back, she says with a smile. She's smiling. She's up to something. Kyuubi, can you check her mind? Naruto asks. I can try, Kyuubi says. Damn, I should have asked for your help with this ages ago, Suki says, marveling at the progress. Yeah, believe it. No one is better at reconstruction than me, Naruto beams. Well brat, she's anxious, possibly even a little frightened. But there is also excitement. Like I said, she's not stupid. She probably realized what was going on, Kyuubi responds. Damn, what do I say to her, he asks. Nothing. She clearly doesn't want you to know, that she knows you enjoyed beating that human half to death, Kyuubi replies. Don't go getting a big head, loser. Well, I dropped him off, Suki says and stretches casually. It was a little too casually. It was like she was trying to be as normal as possible. Naruto decided enough with the bullshit. There was no reason to dance around each other. Screw Kyuubi's advice. Suki, I know that you know, Naruto says. Know what? She asks, innocently. Don't play dumb. I know you too well to fall for it, the blonde answers. It was worth a shot. It wasn't like you. I could feel what you felt. You liked hurting him. That's not you, Suki says. I know. It's just I lost it when he touched you. I know you can handle yourself, and if you wanted to you would have chidoried his balls off or something. But I couldn't help it, Naruto starts. I'm rubbing off on you, if you can think up such a creative use for my chidori, Suki remarks with a smirk. Yeah, maybe a little, he laughs. But seriously, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little worried, Suki says. That's not like you, Naruto responds. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of that going around today. I think it's the bond. Maybe you got a bit of my rage and I got a bit of your giving a damn. It's a curse. You can take it back now, Suki says dryly. Wish I could, but I don't think that's it. It's not rage that drives you. Thanks to the bond, I think I finally understand you a little better now, he states. This ought to be good. What stupid idea have you got into your head now? Suki demands with a raised eyebrow. People think it's rage that drives you. I used to think that too. But it's not, Naruto says as he pushes her against the side of one of the buildings. Oh really, and what do you think it is that drives me? She asks, squirming a bit against the wall. You're afraid of getting close to someone and then they'll die on you. You'll be alone again, Naruto says. That was surprisingly insightful, Suki says. Well, now that our minds are linked and all, it makes a lot more sense, he says with a smile. Guess so. You going to let me go now? Suki asks almost in a challenging way. Never. I won't let you be alone anymore. Not after I spent so long trying to get you back, Naruto says. Naruto, Suki starts to say, but then a loud explosion went off. The last Uchiha was almost relieved. She didn't know what she would have said to that declaration. She knew that he meant it. A few days ago, she would have just pawned it off to friendship. Naruto took the concept of friendship more seriously than most people took love. Probably because he'd been shunned for much of his life. I think that's our cue, she says, racing off. Yeah, Naruto says, flitting off after her. Naruto realized something about himself in that moment. The first part of his life, he had been desperate for attention. He just wanted someone, anyone, to notice him. He didn't care if it was positive or negative. The next part of his life, he had spent trying to get Suki's attention. Again, he didn't care if it was positive or negative, just as long as he was getting some response out of her. He was always following her. Most people he knew wouldn't think their relationship was healthy. Hell, he knew it wasn't. She'd tried to kill him several times. He'd come close to doing the same to her. But he'd still always chase after her. It was crazy, he knew. They'd never understand though. She was like his other half. They were opposites in every way. Like yin and yang. They were just incomplete without each other. When they got there, they saw a rather sheepish-looking Konohamaru. He was surrounded by Hyugas, as the explosion had taken place close to their estate. Hiyashi did not look pleased to say the least. Sorry guys, I was just practicing. I guess I put too much chakra into it, the young ninja says. Konohamaru, when trying out big techniques like that for the first time, you should do it in the Forest of Death or at the training grounds, Naruto says. Yeah, I know. But it was a dare. Didn't mean to scare anyone, he explains. Well, you did. No worries though. I mean, it's over now. You alright, Hinata? Naruto offers the brunette a sunny smile. I'm in Naruto. Thank you for asking, Hinata says, doing a nervous gesture with her hands. Suki had to look away. She was well aware of Hinata's feelings for Naruto. Hell, everyone, but Naruto was. She wasn't sure why she was so upset over Naruto smiling at the beautiful Hyuga. He smiled at everyone, but she was. Hinata would be good for Naruto. She was kind and loyal. Whereas Suki had left the village and put Naruto through nothing but pain, she'd never wavered. She was also friendly. Hinata was open. She was affectionate. In short, she was everything Suki wasn't. Logically, Suki knew none of this was Hinata's fault. But still she found herself biting back the impulse not to attack her. It was unsettling to say the least. Sure, the last Uchiha had a temper. She could be violent, but she'd never attacked without a real reason. Hinata hadn't given her one. She should get out of here before she did something stupid. Suki flits off. She races back to her district. The district was safe. No one else was around. She could vent her frustration here. She slams her fist into the wall of one of the houses. Thankfully it was made out of concrete, so the structure was sound. Fuck, she hisses in pain. Alright, maybe hitting a concrete wall with her fist was not her brightest idea. She looks down at her hand. She moves it gingerly. Alright, it was painful, but nothing was broken. It was bleeding though, and she had scraped it raw with that hit. It wasn't pretty, but she could bandage it and it'd be fine in a few days. She just had to keep the loser from seeing it. Once it was determined that the leaf wasn't under attack and Konohamaru had been given a suitable scolding, everyone starts to disperse. That's when Naruto noticed something. Suki wasn't there. He had a second where he panicked. What if she ran off again? Then he realized he had the bond. He could find her or get close enough that he'd be able to. He wondered how the locating portion of the bond worked. Well, no time like the present to find out. He tries to connect with her mind. Her mind was a wreck. She was angry and seemed to be almost panicking. If a mind could hyperventilate, that would be how he would describe it. Well, at least it was easy to track her. He could follow the thoughts almost like he could have her voice. "Suki," he yells as he finds her by the outside of one of the buildings in the Uchiha district. He noticed that Suki immediately placed her hand in her pocket. Something was up. Then he saw the dent in the concrete wall. The dent matched the shape of Suki's fist. "You punched a wall," he says in confusion. Yeah," Suki says. There was really no point in denying it, as the dent in the wall was pretty damn obvious. "Let me see your hand," Naruto says. "It's fine. I've had worse. It'll take more than a wall to take me out," she replies, smirking. "Suki, give me your hand," the blonde demands. "It'll be okay in a couple of days." "It's not a big deal," the raven-haired woman declares. Why did she always have to be so stubborn? Every time he tried to help her, she'd always reject it. It was like a law of nature that everything with Suki had to be difficult. Well, he wasn't going to let this one slide. He was going to see her hand, whether she wanted to or not. "Alright, if that's the way you want to play it," Naruto says and darts over, yanking her hand out of her pocket. "Naruto, don't," she cries out. It was too late though. He'd already grabbed her hand. Even Suki had to hide a wince at how banged up it looked. She saw his eyes narrow. Damn it, now she'd have to explain this. She wasn't sure she could explain it to herself, let alone to him. Naruto got a chance to look at her injury. He winced. Shit, that looked painful. It was mostly coated in blood, and the parts that weren't, the skin had been scraped almost raw. She'd fucked herself up good. Not as good as he did that Chunin that grabbed her ass, but still pretty good. "What happened?" he growls out. "Flashback," she offers. Naruto wasn't an idiot. He had looked at medical files on Suki while she was asleep. It had listed that she did have PTSD. Flashbacks were a major part of that, and from what he knew, they could be brutal. It was possible she'd punched the wall and not realized what she was doing during the episode. "Suki, if you are having violent flashbacks, you need to see a medic. But first let's get that hand patched up," he says. "Alright," she says, allowing him to escort him back inside her home. Naruto knew it was bad when Suki wasn't arguing with him. That made him suspicious. But he decided to investigate her sudden agreeableness later. First things first, they had to deal with that hand. Suki was relived. He bought the flashback excuse. She didn't know what she would have said otherwise. As she was pondering this, Naruto takes her hand and begins washing it off, applying disinfectant, and gently bandaging it. She's relieved about something, but I can't tell what, QB states. Probably that we got back here in time before she hurt more than just her hand. Damn, she busted herself up pretty good. "I'm going to talk to Granny Tsunade about this," Naruto replies. "You really have to quit being so stubborn. If you were having flashbacks you should have asked for help," Naruto says. "Where would the fun be in that?" Suki says with a rueful smile. Suki couldn't believe how she had lost it. She'd lost it over a fucking smile. But in that smile, she had seen how it would play out. Eventually, Naruto would get it through his thick skull that Hinata loved him. They'd end up getting married, maybe having a couple kids. She'd be forgotten. "You always have to do things the hard way," Naruto says in amusement. It wasn't that she was jealous. At least that's what she tried to tell herself. It's just Naruto had been the one constant in her life. For a long time it had been avenging her family. But even that fell through. Itachi hadn't been the villain, he had been the hero. She'd gotten her revenge. But it was hollow. She'd killed the one person who loved her for who she was, not what she was. Well, other than Naruto, she would be alone if he fell in love with Hinata. Oh, she knew that if he married, at first he'd still try to stay close. But eventually single friends and married friends drift apart. It was just a fact of life. Well, in Suki's mind anyway. Without Naruto, she honestly had nothing left. He was a loser, but he was her loser. That was the way it had always been. Always. Isn't that how it has always been when it comes to us? She asks with a smile. Yeah, it does seem that way. Considering that you might hurt yourself if you have a nasty flashback, I think it might be best if we shared a room, Naruto says. Naruto, I'm fine. It was just one. Besides, we'll be in the same house. If anything happens, you'll hear me. You'll feel me. We have the bond now. Suki tries to wave off his suggestion. That's not going to work this time. I'm putting my foot down. I'm not going to let you hurt yourself because of your stupid pride, the blonde says. My pride is one of the very few things I have left, she growls at him. I know. Which is why I won't let anyone know about your issues, other than Tsunade. But I'm not going to take the chance that you'll hurt yourself, the blue-eyed man states. Naruto, drop it, the dark-haired woman says, opening the fridge. She needed a drink. Her head was still spinning from all the emotions that were whirling around inside of her like a hurricane. Suki wasn't a big drinker. But alcohol was definitely called for at a time like this. I'm not going to drop it, he snaps. Yes, you are, she says, taking out some sake, and pouring herself some. You're drinking. You don't drink, Naruto says, blinking. I was gone a long time. I drink. Rarely, but I do. You want a glass? She asks as if this was perfectly normal. No, I don't want a glass, Naruto says, takes out a scroll, scribbles a messenger on it, and has one of smaller toad summons hop off with it. You seriously did not just tattle on me to Tsunade, by using a messenger frog, Suki says, twitching. Well, maybe if you weren't so damn stubborn, I wouldn't have, Naruto yells. Fuck you. There are laws about patient confidentiality. Unless I'm a danger to myself or others, I have to willingly seek treatment, she yells right back at him. You are a danger to yourself. Look at your hand, Naruto roars. It was a one-time thing, she hollers back. Then you won't mind her checking you out. If it's a one-time thing, then it won't matter, he tells her. I'm not going for a psych evaluation, Suki scoffs. Yes, you are, Naruto says. I don't like people poking around in my head, the Uchiha says. I know. But come on, for your own safety, he responds, softer this time. I'll humor you. I'll see her once about it. But no room sharing, Suki says. Fine, Naruto seems pacified by this response, for now anyway. She nods and takes a sip of her sake. It struck Naruto how odd this was. He was actually in her district, in her house. Suki had actually cooked for him and they'd fought like a married couple. I'm going to take a shower. If that's okay with you, Dr. Uzumaki, Suki says sarcastically. Damn, you are the queen of sarcasm. You're really that mad about the message, he asks. A little, yeah. You need to learn to respect boundaries. Suki heads towards the bathroom. Sorry, I pissed you off. But I'm never going to apologize for caring about you, Naruto says. I'm glad. But I'm still going to kick your ass if you ever pull something like that again. Suki walks back, flicks him in the forehead, and then heads into the bathroom. Oh, okay, I deserved that, Naruto says, rubbing his forehead. Yes, you did, she calls out and soon he can hear the water running. Go ahead and peek, you know you want to, Kyubi says. Perverted fox. That's wrong. Besides, she'd kill me, Naruto responds. Raven fur isn't like the other vixens. If she was concerned about you looking, she would have locked the door, Kyubi reasons. Maybe just a peek, to make sure she doesn't have a flashback. If she falls, she could really get hurt, Naruto says. Whatever you want to tell yourself, brat, Kurama answers. Nah, it's wrong. Besides, it's Suki. She'd know, Naruto says. Meanwhile, Suki enjoys her shower. A few minutes later, she comes out wearing a bathrobe. She tilts her head to the side. Naruto was doing it again. He was talking to the fox. One of these days, she wanted to hear these conversations, without him knowing. Whoa, Suki. You can't walk around like that, Naruto flails. Like what? It's a bathrobe, Suki says raising an eyebrow. Yeah, but you're all wet. I can see like everything, the blonde blushes. You are such a child. Are you really the same ninja that took down Madara, she scoffs. Well, I had help. But I don't see what that has to do with this, the blue-eyed man states. I can't believe you had the two biggest perverts ever to come out of the leaf as teachers and you still blush like a genin, Suki says, rolling her eyes. Hey, Kakashi isn't that bad. He only reads the stuff Jiraiya wrote, Naruto defends. That's why I said the two biggest perverts. Jiraiya was number one. Kakashi is carrying on his proud tradition, the dark-haired woman states dryly. And I do not blush like a genin, Naruto grumbles. Alright, you're right. That wasn't fair, Suki says. Good. Apology accepted, the blonde replies. Yes, accuracy is important, the last Uchiha responds. Yeah, so glad you agree, Naruto nods his head determinedly. You blush like an academy student, Suki says with a smirk. What? Naruto flails. You blush like an academy student, the woman says. I heard you the first time. I just can't believe you said that, he growls. It's true, she says with a straight face. That's it, Naruto yells and charges at Suki. Suki lets out a rather unidentified eep. She runs. While she might have been faster than Naruto, she was inside a house. There were obstacles in her way, such as furniture. The last Uchiha was mortified when she tripped over the couch and goes flying onto it. Naruto, well, he was always good at seizing an opportunity. He pounces. Suki squirms underneath him. Alright, it was one thing when they were 12-year-olds. It was another when they were both 18. That and she was only wearing a bathrobe. Maybe Naruto had a point about her current state of dress. Said bathrobe was riding up and exposing just a little bit more leg than she was comfortable with. Pinned ya, Naruto says, beaming. That's what you think. Suki wiggles underneath him, rolling them over, and pins him. Pinned ya, the brunette says. Oh yeah, he flips them. Pinned ya, again, Suki says once she reverses their positions for another time. Alright, sheesh, you win, Naruto says. I always do, she says with a smirk. If you really want to win, I just undo the sash of the bathrobe, Kyubi says. Kyubi, shut up, Naruto growls at him. How's it work, Suki asks. How does what work, the blonde responds, confused. You heard my thoughts. How did it work? Were you trying to do it or did it just happen? The bathrobe-clad woman asks. I wasn't trying to. I think it just happened because you were feeling it so strongly. Probably works the other way, he guesses. I can't hear your thoughts. I pick up feelings though. Once in a while, there's an undercurrent. I assume that's the 9 tails, she says. Yeah, probably. Wait, you can tell the difference? Naruto asks, blinking. Yes. Your thoughts are like, never mind. It's sappy. You'd laugh your ass off and never let me live it down, she states. Oh come on. I wanna know. What are my thoughts like? He demands to know. Not going to happen, loser. Not in a million years, she replies. I didn't want to have to do this. But you've given me no choice. I can fight dirty, if I have to, he proclaims and tickles her. Suki, Naruto knew, was extremely ticklish. He'd done it once on a genin mission. She'd laughed hysterically. As back then that was the first time he'd ever heard her laugh, he remembered it. Seriously, he'd never met anyone as ticklish as the last Uchiha. Naruto, that's not fair, she thrashes underneath him, lost in a fit of giggles. Maybe not, but I know it will work, he grins like a Cheshire cat. Alright, I've, she says. Good, now tell me, he says and stops tickling her. Your thoughts, well, they have a feeling to them. I guess is the best way to explain it, she starts. What's the feeling? Naruto questions. Like sunshine. With Kyubi it's like lava under the surface, she answers. Like sunshine, he states in disbelief. Suki replies and gives him a look like you asked. Well, your thoughts have a feeling too. Not surprisingly, it's like fire. Campfire, really, Naruto explains. A campfire? Really? Suki sounds amused. Yeah, I think it's mostly cause the connection is so new. I think it'll probably get stronger over time, he answers. Well, could have been worse. Well, it's late. We should probably turn in, she says and gets off him. Yeah, probably. Night, Suki, he says. Night, Naruto, she says and saunters off. That night, Suki dreamed. For the first time in a long time, it wasn't a bad dream. Well, at least it wasn't at first. She was surrounded by darkness. Gradually, a light appears. Suki follows it cautiously. Eventually, she comes to a garden. She remembered it. Her mother had kept a garden, just like this one. Suki hadn't had the heart to maintain it after her death. But here it was in full bloom. That was when she realized she wasn't alone. Who's there? She calls out. It's me, Suki, she hears her mother's voice. That couldn't be though. Her mother had been dead for over a decade. Still, she finds herself turning towards the source of the voice. It was her. Mother, she asks uncertainly. It's me. I'm afraid our time together is short. I was able to tap into Kyubi's chakra to see you. I don't know how long it will last. But I came to warn you, Makoto says. Warn me about what? Suki asks. The blood moon is approaching. It has a certain effect on the tailed beasts. The host and the demon's thoughts are more blurred than usual on that night. Normally, they are distinct. That is not the case on the night of the blood moon, she says. So you are saying that what? Naruto will attack me, her daughter asks. It's one possibility. There are others. The fact that your minds are now linked means avoiding him on that night would be much more difficult than otherwise, she states. What are the other possibilities? Suki asks. The other one is that instead of his bloodlust being increased, his other desires would be increased. In that case, the nature of the tailed beasts is to seek out the strongest companion they can find and mate. Makoto answers the question. Wait, so you think Naruto is going to attack me or want to? Suki couldn't even finish the sentence without laughing. This was Naruto. He practically had a halo. He blushed at a fucking bathrobe, for God's sakes. Still, an amped up QB Naruto combo looking for a fight was a concern. He could destroy the village without meaning to. Damn, I assure you, my Suki, this is not a laughing matter. Both are possibilities. Of course, if it is the second option, there is always the chance that he might pursue someone else. I find it unlikely. The only other woman in nearby that I could think of who is on a comparable level is Tsunade. Tsunade is well past childbearing years. The instinct to mate is above all about having children for tailed beasts, she says seriously. You're serious? You really think that Naruto might try to jump me or someone else? Suki says. Yes, I am serious. I suggest you come up with an excuse to be away from him on the 13th. That is the day of the blood moon. You should be all right during the day. It's night that is the main concern, she advises. All right, I'll avoid him. Can't you stay a little longer? She asks. I'm sorry, baby. I can't. I love you, she says, hugging her. I love you too, she hugs back and smiles. Her mother soon fades away. Suki cries out and tries to bring her back. It didn't work though. She woke with a start. Suki, you okay? I felt you panicking, Naruto says, peeking through the door. Yay, I'm fine. Just an intense dream. Go back to sleep, she says. Alright, if you are sure, he says. Positive. Think you can have Tsunade do the psych evaluation on the 13th, she asks. Psych evaluations for ninjas were brutal. They could easily take days. It'd give her a good excuse to be away from him on the blood moon. She knew she was probably being silly. It was only a dream. But it had felt so real. Yeah, I'll ask her. Remember, don't fight her. She's trying to help you get better, he says. I'll be a good girl. I promise. Cross my heart and hope to die, Suki says mockingly. He yawns and stretches. Well, night, Suki. Get some rest. You are going to need it. You know how psych evals are, he states, heading back to his room. It was just a dream, she mutters, trying to convince herself, as she dozes off. Tsunade knew something was up. How did she know this? Well, when a frog hops into your office with a scroll strapped to its back, you just kinda knew. She read the scroll from the messenger frog. It had to be from Naruto. Now that Jiraiya was gone, Naruto was the only person she knew of that summoned frogs. Well, toads, she mentally corrected herself. She had a bad feeling about this. Suki is having violent flashbacks. She needs your help, Granny Tsunade. I should have seen this coming, she mutters to herself. The busty blonde sighs. Honestly, she was surprised it hadn't happened before. The trauma of the massacre, Orochimaru's stalking, whatever happened in the sound, finding out the truth about Itachi and his death, and the war itself was more than enough to shred anyone's mind. Tsunade did not trust the last Uchiha, but she did have to applaud her ability to maintain her sanity. Granted, she had a habit of making decisions that the Hokage loathed. But the first female Hokage could not truthfully say that Suki Uchiha was insane. Naruto, she says, when she sees the other blonde walk into her office. Hey, Granny Tsunade, you get my message, he asks. Yes, you know that I can't force you to seek treatment. There are laws about these types of things. Unless she's in danger of hurting herself or others, my hands are tied, brat, she explains. Yeah, I know. I talked to her. She wants to have a psych evaluation on the 13th, he states. The Uchiha has a dark sense of humor. She wants a psych evaluation on Friday the 13th, Tsunade says dryly. Yeah, well, that's Suki for you, Naruto says, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. Considering what she's capable of if she has an episode, I'll see her on the 13th. I don't need the village destroyed because she's not aware of what she's doing, the blonde woman says. Great, thank you so much, Granny Tsunade, he says. How is the bond going otherwise, she questions. Well, pretty good, I guess. I think she's having nightmares though. I felt her freaking out last night. Oh, and I was able to locate her using it, he states. Nightmares are to be expected. Most ninjas get them. If anyone has a reason to have bad dreams, it would be her. It's good that you were able to locate her, she answers. She hurt her hand. But mine is fine, the blue-eyed man says. Did she hurt it by attacking you? Tsunade asks. No. She hit a wall, he answers. Then that's why. The bond only has you share each other's pain and injuries if you attack each other. If it was a complete link, that means that you'd both be a target. If someone wanted to kill her, they could do it by killing you and vice versa. Such a thing was far too dangerous, and that is why it has never been created, to my knowledge, she explains. Got it. Well, I'll let her know you are good with seeing her on Friday, he replies. Good. I'm going to need a lot of sake to deal with that one, she sighs. Meanwhile, Suki decides to go to her family's library. If the blood moon really had an effect on tailed beasts, it would have been recorded. Her family's library had books that were centuries old. There were thousands of books, possibly tens of thousands. It took hours, but eventually she finds a book on tailed beasts. One that mentioned the blood moon. Most of it spoke of increased aggression levels. The host would take on animal characteristics in body and appearance. The physical differences were listed as being mostly minor, such as fangs, eyes changing color, and in some cases fingernails lengthening into claws. It was the mental changes that were the most concerning. It was real, she mutters to herself reading the text. The dream had been real. The book laid it out in vivid detail. It recommended restraining the host during the blood moon. Short of that, it was imperative to get them away from crowded areas. Most tailed beasts were extremely territorial and prone to attacking those that were trying to steal their territory. The book was also pretty graphic about the increased drive. Graphic enough that even Suki blushed. And she was not a blushing type of girl. Well, I can't restrain him. If I attack him, I feel it. So if I knock him out, I'll get knocked out. He might wake before I do. That's too big of a risk, she murmurs to herself. She'll get better now that Granny Tsunade is on the case, Naruto says. I don't think it's flashbacks that caused it. Raven Fur has experienced much hardship in her life. She's never experienced episodes before. I think it was an excuse, Kyubi says. Kyubi, do you really think Suki would lie about suffering from a mental disorder? The blonde asks. Normally no. But she's fully capable of letting you jump to your own conclusions and not correcting you, he replies. Naruto had to admit that Kyubi had a point. But he didn't really want to believe it. What could be so bad that Suki would rather get a psychological evaluation than tell him? He hurries back home. It was odd. The Uchiha district now felt more like his home than his apartment he'd lived in nearly all his life did. Probably because Suki was there. He heads into the main house. Naruto looks around for Suki. Alright, she wasn't in the living room, the kitchen, and he'd even knocked on the bathroom. Nothing. Where could she have gone? Suki, he calls out. When he didn't get a response, he grew more concerned. Oh fuck it. He'd used the bond. When his mind touched hers, somehow he got the impression of a blush. Suki was blushing. What the hell was going on? It was coming from below him. He followed the feeling and eventually came to a family portrait. It was a large family portrait, easily 8 feet tall and 4 feet wide. He could feel Suki, but it was coming from behind the portrait. Naruto moves the massive painting. The wall looked normal, but he couldn't shake the feeling that Suki was behind it. He feels around it, eventually coming to a movable brick. When he removed it, a hidden door slid open. A secret room, he says in amazement. When he looked around, he saw that it was a library. A huge library. Whoa, the Uchihas apparently went to a lot of trouble to hide their books. Shikamaru would give up cloud watching to have a chance to look at this place. There you are. Is there anything else I should know about this place? I mean secret libraries, really, Naruto asks when he sees Suki. No, that about covers it, Suki says, her face still a lovely shade of pink. Suki casts a subtle genjutsu on the book. She did not want Naruto to see what she was reading. Thankfully, Naruto sucked at genjutsu. She personally thought that it was a character thing. The man just couldn't deceive anyone for the life of him. She was positive he wouldn't see through it, if he picked up the book. What are you reading that is causing you to blush? I didn't know you could blush, Naruto says slyly. Nothing important, she answers. No, this I got to see, he says and grabs the book. Quote ellipsis. You came all the way down here to read one of Jiraiya's books, the blonde asks in amazement. Well, I was curious about what was so damn fascinating to Kakashi. I didn't want you to know because you'd never let me live it down, she replies. You're right, I'm so not going to let you live it down. So let's see what has the mighty Suki blushing like an academy student, he says smugly and grabs the book. Naruto starts reading. Damn, he'd read some of Jiraiya's books before. They were normally pretty steamy. But this was in a different league. This time it was about two ninjas that were training in a forest. Everything about the descriptions, from the sounds, to the positions, to the feelings of the characters, radiated a raw duality. It was fucking primal. Whoa, never read this one before. It's much better than his usual stuff. No wonder you were blushing, he says, handing it back to her. Yeah, anyway, did you need something? Suki says, relieved that the genjutsu held. Suki had to improvise on the spot. The cover of the book had been changed. Then when he started reading she needed to insert text. So she had just thrown in one of her own fantasies. It seemed to have worked. Oh, I just wanted to tell you that Granny Tsunade says she'll see you on the 13th, he states. Great, Suki responds with a slightly nervous smile. Naruto pawned it off to her just being nervous about the evaluation. So what's for dinner, he asks. Are you under the delusion that I'm cooking for you every night? The last Uchiha asks, as she heads out of the library. Well, you said that you wanted me to eat stuff besides ramen and I can't really cook, the blonde responds cheerfully. Naruto, I am not your wife. Order takeout or something, the dark-haired woman says. Order takeout? Oh come on, Suki. Everyone is way too scared to come here. He responds by giving her the big blue puppy eyes. The eyes are not going to work, Uzumaki, she states firmly. But Suki, he whines and turns up the puppy eyes. No, but Tsukis, she decides to put her foot down. I'll be your best friend, the tanned ninja says. You are already my best friend and what are you 5, she asks, raising an eyebrow. I think I deserve it. I mean my clones cleaned up the entire district, he states smugly. Well I guess that's fair, she sighs and caves to the power of the puppy eyes. Not that she was ever going to tell him that. Yeah, Naruto chirps happily and follows her into the kitchen. He'd never admit this, but he just liked watching Suki move. Even by a ninja's standards, she was graceful. There was just something almost hypnotic about the way she could glide across the room. Her feet never made a sound, utterly silent. Loser, do you think this is some sort of cooking show? She asks, rolling her eyes, as she leans up and grabs some food out of the cupboard. Maybe a little. I mean I doubt there are many who have watched you cook and lived to tell the tale, he answers. You are way too easily amused, she responds and shakes her head. Now where was Naruto? Oh yeah, it was quite the sight to watch Suki prepare a meal. She approached it the same way she did battle. Every move was done with an elegant efficiency. He knew it was stupid, but she had made the wife crack. So he pictured her in an apron. The thought made him almost laugh. But then his thoughts took a more carnal turn. He blamed Jiraiya's book. Shit, that passage had been hot. He pictured her in only an apron while cooking. Guess that book got you worked up, Suki says as she finishes cooking. What? Naruto asks. We are linked. I can feel what you feel. You're turned on, she states as if discussing the weather. Oh, that's embarrassing. Yeah, a little, he answers. He definitely wasn't going to tell her about the apron fantasy. It happens. We'll have to get used to such things or get better at blocking them out from each other, she says, setting the food out. Well, it doesn't happen to you, Naruto pouts. It does. I just have other things on my mind at the moment, she answers truthfully. Suki, you've never even looked at a guy. I'm starting to wonder if maybe you just prefer women. Which is fine if you do. I mean I don't judge, he says. Excuse me, Suki replies incredulous. I mean if you were a lesbian, it's fine. It'd make the whole restoring your clan thing kinda awkward though. But you are my friend no matter what, he declares. I am not a lesbian, Suki scoffs. Suki, it's okay. Really, Naruto says. He couldn't resist fucking with her. Yeah, Naruto knew he was asking for it. But now that he knew that she couldn't hurt him, without hurting himself, it was so on. Oh that's it, she says and tackles him. Whoa, easy there. Remember, if you hurt me, you hurt yourself, he says. It'd be worth it, Suki growls. Naruto gulps. Idly he wonders if he was a masochist. The way she was growling like a tigress was kinda a turn on actually. Well, if he was going to get a beating, he might as well make it worth it. Have you even kissed anyone besides me? And our kisses were accidents. They don't really count, Naruto asks. That is really none of your business, she scoffs. I'll take that as a no. Thought so, he replies smugly. Well, what about you, loser, Suki growls. I was too busy chasing your ass around the 5 nations and trying to knock some sense back into you, he answers. Idiot. You don't tease me about not making out with someone, if you haven't, she says with a huff. I know. It's just fun to get you all riled up, he admits. Because you like to get beat up, she says sarcastically. Well, that and you know. Wait, just forget that last part. It's nothing, the blue-eyed ninja says. No, I won't forget it. And what? She demands, still having him firmly pinned underneath her. It's stupid, he says. Can't be any stupider than catching me reading one of Jiraiya's books, she responds. Yeah, guess so. It's just that I like having your at. Naruto starts to say something, but was cut off when Sakura bounds through door. Suki. Naruto. Where are you? Oh, the pinkette blinks when she sees Suki straddling Naruto on the kitchen floor. Sakura, Suki eeps, blushes scarlet, and gets off of Naruto. It's not what it looks like, Naruto yells. I know it isn't what it looks like. You two are always fighting. What was it over this time? Sakura asks, raising an eyebrow. You don't want to know, Suki answers. Alright, anyway, Tsunade wants you to suit up Naruto. You are heading to the Sand Village for a few days. Something about Gaara wanting you to be the one he negotiates the trade agreements with, the medic says. He wants Naruto to negotiate the trade agreements? But Naruto doesn't know anything about trading, Suki states. I think he just wants an excuse to see Naruto and well he trusts him. He doesn't trust the merchants, her former teammate says. What about Suki? I can't just leave her here while she's undergoing a psych evaluation all alone, the blue-eyed man states. She'll be fine. Tsunade is a professional and I'm here, Sakura responds. Naruto. It's alright. Just go. Tsunade's done hundreds of evaluations. I've been through much worse. Go see Gaara. We don't need to cause an international incident because you are fussing over me, the last Uchiha says, waving her hand. Okay, I'll be back soon. Try not to destroy the village, while I'm gone, he says only half-jokingly. Somehow I think I can manage a week or two on my own, she says dryly. Naruto packs and heads off. 3 days later, he arrives in the Sand Village. He was pretty excited to see Gaara. He wondered how his village was faring after the war. Naruto, it is good to see you. Gaara greets him and leads him into his office. Gaara, yeah you too. You know I don't really know anything about this trade stuff, he says. I know. The agreement is pretty standard. I don't see a reason to tweak it. I just couldn't find a way to leave for a week to come visit you. It's been busy here, he states. Why, what's going on? Naruto asks. We are building an orphanage and upgrading our hospital. After the war, we gained some new allies that have been rather generous with us when it comes to trade, Gaara explains. Oh, that's awesome, the blonde says excitedly. Yes, I hear you have been busy as well. Tsunade notified me that she was going to attempt a forbidden jutsu. You seem well for someone who has had their mind linked to the Uchiha, he observes. Yeah, well it's complicated, but for the most part it's going okay. We are still trying to get used to it. She can even feel Kurama's thoughts, well a little bit, he responds. I wouldn't have foreseen that. Be careful. Last I saw her, she was lost in the darkness. Darkness has a way of spreading, he advises. She's doing better now though. I mean she's still dealing with a lot. But she's like her old self, before she left the leaf, he elaborates. I'm glad to hear that. Don't misunderstand me, I want her to recover. I was in her position not that long ago. It's not an easy road. But my own suffering was caused by my tailed beast. For Suki, it's different. It's her own heart that troubles her. That makes her recovery even more difficult, the redhead says. Yeah, but she's strong. She'll pull through. Hell, she even cooked me dinner twice, Naruto says smugly. The Uchiha cooks, he asks raising an eyebrow. Yeah, that was my reaction. But she's actually really good at it. She says she had to learn. She didn't trust the food at the Sound Village, the blonde continues. I can see her point there. It's just hard to picture her doing something so domestic, the youngest Kage says and tries to picture the Uchiha in the kitchen. It just didn't compute. Oh believe me, I know. Even caught her reading one of Jiraiya's books, he states mischievously. Really? Gaara asks, blinking. Yeah, apparently they have some secret library in their house. There must have been thousands of books. I felt her embarrassment through the bond. I can't blame her, I looked at it. Never seen Jiraiya so descriptive before. The style was different. He's normally more of a romantic, this was more animalistic, he says thoughtfully. Naruto, Has it occurred to you that she likely wasn't reading one of Jiraiya's books? If the material was that much different than his normal writing style, it might have just have been a genjutsu, the redhead states. The blonde was left speechless. It would make more sense than her reading an erotic novel. That'd be out of character for her, Gaara continues. That sneaky ice princess, he says. She was obviously going to great lengths to conceal something from you. Did you feel anything amiss in the bond, he asks. No, she was just embarrassed by something, he replies. She doesn't seem the type to get embarrassed easily. Well, embarrassment is probably good. I doubt she'd be embarrassed if she was plotting something against the Leaf Village, he reasons. Yeah, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this, Naruto vows. I'm sure you will. The Uchiha is stubborn. There's only one person more stubborn than her on the entire planet, the young man says. Really? Who is that? The Leaf Ninja questions. You, Gaara answers with a smirk. Meanwhile, Suki heads to see Tsunade. She wasn't particularly happy about the psych evaluation, but she'd deal with it. The last Uchiha allows her mind to be probed. Well, there is definitely a lot of trauma. That's to be expected. You have a deep fear of abandonment. But I'm not seeing any ruptures that would have led to a violent flashback, recently. Strange. We'll have to monitor you closely, just to be on the safe side, she states. Alright, do you mind if I stay tonight for observation? Suki asks. You're volunteering to stay at a hospital, longer than necessary? Alright. What the hell is going on? Suki, Tsunade demands. It's a long story. You don't want to know, she answers. Oh, I think I do want to know, the busty blonde replies. It's just that I read something in my family's library. I'm not saying that I believe it, but I'd rather not take the chance, she says vaguely. And what did you read? Tsunade says in a no bullshit tone. That the blood moon has an effect on the hosts of tailed beasts. It makes them more animalistic. Naruto would probably view me as a threat to his territory in that state and might attack. If he attacks me, she trails off. You'll both get hurt, even more so than usual. The village might get caught in the crossfire, she finishes. Exactly, she replies. I still think there is more that you aren't telling me. But I'll look into the matter. In any case, I don't see the harm in having you stay the night, just in case, the Hokage replies. Thank you, Suki says. Don't thank me. This is more for the brat and village than your sake. The last thing we need is a battle royale in the village square, she states. Well, Gaara, I should probably get going, Naruto says. So soon? You just got here, the redhead asks. Yeah, I need to figure out what the hell Suki is up to, he answers. I don't blame you. Good luck, my friend, the cage says and escorts the blonde to the Sand Village's exit. Naruto didn't know why. He just knew in his blood that it was important to get back to the Leaf as soon as possible. Suki needed him. He wasn't sure why he thought that. Maybe she was just having a hard time with the psych evaluation. But he knew that he needed to get back to her as soon as possible. So he took every shortcut he could think of. He didn't stop to eat or to rest. He made it back to the Leaf Village in 2 days instead of the normal 3. Suki settles into the hospital bed for the night. She thought she was safe. The journey to the sand was 3 days to and 3 days back. Even if Naruto got Gaara to agree to the trade deals immediately, that was a 6-day journey. At the absolute earliest, he'd arrive the day after the blood moon ended. So the Leaf would still be in one piece. Naruto, are you okay? Your eyes are all red, Suki overheard someone say from nearby. Wait, Naruto was here? Well, it was possible. But he would have had to not have stopped for rest to make it back this soon. Which was possible. Naruto did have great stamina. Though there was no reason to rush back. Yeah, I'm fine, Naruto says, his voice sounding foreign to his own ears. It had come out more as a growl than usual. That wasn't the only thing that was off though. His tongue glides over his teeth and he realizes they were much sharper than they should have been. His fingernails were now more like claws. What the fuck? He was not trying to go QB. This shouldn't be happening. You sure? Naruto, your teeth, she gasps. Naruto didn't realize it at the time, but the sun was setting. The moon was slowly rising. He did however feel warmer than usual. He felt his pulse racing with excitement. It had been at that time that he'd bumped into Tenten. The brunette had been visiting the hospital for her physical. When he saw the pretty ninja walk by, something inside him snapped. Don't worry about it, he assures the brown-eyed woman as he advances upon her. Somehow he instinctively knew the following information. Tenten was fertile tonight. How he knew that, he didn't know. Something about her scent. He couldn't describe it. She was pretty. She was strong. Tenten would be a good choice. That and Tenten wasn't mated. All the better. Maybe you should see, Tsunade. It might have something to do with 9 tails, Tenten says uncertainly, not sure she liked the predatory way he was walking towards her. I'd rather see you. Naruto purrs darkly and pushes Tenten against the wall, capturing her lips in what could only be described as a bruising kiss. Naruto liked the feeling of Tenten against him. She was soft. She smelled nice. Tenten was cute. She was fertile. But something felt off. His animalistic side wasn't sure what it was. She'd produce strong children, he was sure of that. Maybe he just need more of a response to get her going. His hands begin to wander against the stunned ninja. Naruto, what the hell are you doing? Tenten gasps and tries to squirm out of his reach. It was useless. He had her pinned firmly against the wall. Tenten was strong, she was used to lugging around heavy weapons. But she just wasn't in Naruto's league when it came to brute strength. Suki followed Tenten's voice into the hall. When she saw Naruto kissing Tenten, she saw red. Literally, her Sharingan activated. That was how furious she was. It was a white-hot rage. The more rational side of her mind knew that it was foolish to be angry. Naruto wasn't in control of himself. Tenten was clearly not trying to seduce the blonde. But the rational side of her mind just got its ass kicked. It would be on life support until further notice. Tenten, get the hell out of here. I'll explain later, she growls out and goes flying at Naruto, smashing her foot into his back. Damn it, Naruto hisses in pain and doubles over. Suki, Tenten says uncertainly. Just run, she grunts in pain, falling to the ground from the force of her kick. Damn, this Link was going to be a bitch. Thanks, she calls out as runs like her life depended on it. Naruto had been contemplating taking Tenten, when suddenly he felt a blow to his back. It was enough to drop him to knees. That's when he realized what was going on. He could feel someone seething with fury. It was almost suffocating to feel the level of anger within his mind. It wasn't from him. It wasn't from Kyuubi. That meant it was from Suki. So that's what was wrong, Naruto says, rising to his feet. Naruto, you aren't yourself right now. It's the blood moon. It has an effect on tailed beasts, Suki explains, also getting up. Is that what it is? I was wondering why I felt different. He sounds almost amused, but it was a dark amusement. Suki felt the hairs on the back of her neck standing up. She wasn't dealing with the 9 tails. But she wasn't entirely sure that she was talking to Naruto. At least not any Naruto she knew. Wait a minute, she took that back. Suki did know this Naruto, barely. This blonde gave off the same vibe as when she had seen him totally lose it when dealing with the frisky Chunin. Yes, Naruto, be smart. Let me restrain you or restrain yourself. I know you don't want to hurt anyone. You can't control your aggression or other feelings in this state. It will go away in the morning. We just have to wait it out, the dark-haired woman continues. I don't want it to go away, he states. You don't, she asks in disbelief. No, I like it. I feel free. Everything makes a lot more sense now. Tenten wasn't a bad pick. But she wasn't the best, he starts. Naruto, I really don't want to hear about who you consider worth screwing. Let's just get you restrained and we'll forget about this. No one has gotten seriously hurt yet, she starts towards him, cautiously. She felt like she was approaching a wild animal and in a way, she was. Suki, you can't pull that with me anymore. We are bonded, remember, he watches her with the eyes of a predator about to lunge. I don't know what you are talking about, loser, she replies and her eyes scan the hallway for something, anything to tie him up. You were jealous that I was going to fuck Tenten, he states with menacing smile. In your fucking dreams, Suki scoffs and finds that she was shit out of luck for finding something that could tie him up. Bed sheets and medical tubing wasn't going to be able to hold him. You have a right to be pissed though. I was being stupid, settling, he says and grabs her, pushing the last Uchiha against the wall. Naruto, read my lips. I am not jealous. I am worried about you and the safety of this village in your current state, Suki says, glaring at him. Your lips say one thing, your mind says another, the blonde says. Suki notices that Naruto had her pinned in such a way, she was not getting out of it easily. If she used the amount of force necessary to get out of it, the pain would slow her down. She wasn't positive she'd even be able to make a run for it. Naruto's eyes were red and the pupils were now only canine-like slits. His whisker-like scars were more prominent. His teeth were now more like fangs than human teeth. She also noted his fingernails had grown into claws. Shit, this was not good. A change of tactics might be in order. She had to get him to loosen his hold. "Suki, the bond makes lying pointless," he growls. "You're right," she says with a sigh. "Damn right I am. It's all right though. I like that you are willing to fight for me. Like when I beat the fuck out of that Chunin because Naruto was too weak to do it," he states. "Naruto, that doesn't make any sense. You were the one who attacked him." "What are you talking about?" Suki asks, feeling her blood run cold. "Yes and no. I'm Naruto. I'm just the most dormant part. You're smart. Think of me as the id," he explains while caressing her cheek. Oh. According to one psychological theory, the human personality was composed of 3 parts. The id, the ego, and the superego. The id was the most primitive part of the personality. It was responsible for the drive and aggression. The ego was a more realistic id. It would ensure the id didn't do anything stupid that would upset society. Finally, the superego, which did things because they were right. The superego was composed of the ideal self and the conscience. "So you're the id and Naruto is the superego," she observes. "See, I knew you were smart," he says, purring with pleasure. "The blood moon makes the id come out to play in the hosts of tailed beasts," she murmurs. "I guess I know why you wanted today to be your psych evaluation. I should have known you wouldn't willingly seek treatment without a damn good reason." "You are sneaky," he whispers in her ear. "I've been called worse," she replies. "Remember when you asked him, Wallace, why he wouldn't let you destroy our bond? Why we were so obsessed with you," he murmurs. "Yes, because you're my friend," she imitates him. He was in denial. "You're ours. You always have been. Just like we belong to you." He turns his attention away from her ear and starts to move in closer for a kiss. "And when was this decided?" she asks, wrapping her arms around his neck. Thankfully, since the chat began, he'd relaxed his guard enough to allow movement. Still, she didn't see a way to buy him, without it coming to blows. If it came to blows, she'd take not only the hits he landed on her, but the hits she landed on him. No, she had to go with it for now. "Since we were kids at the academy. We were both alone. Then when you almost died because of Haku. When you left for that creep Orochimaru, we were fucking devastated. Oh, speaking of Orochimaru," he rips off her shirt and looks at her neck. "Naruto, what the hell?" Suki yells and tries to cover herself. "Red silk definitely suits you," he murmurs and tilts her head to the side, exposing her neck. Suki was really thankful she'd been wearing a bra that day. It was a red silk one. Suki liked silk, but that was another issue. The main point was that Naruto had sufficiently lost it enough that he didn't mind having her be topless or close to it in the hallway of a fucking hospital. "You still have his mark on your neck," Naruto says, baring his fangs a little. "Short of burning or slicing the skin off, it's permanent. I don't like it either. But it is what it is," Suki replies. "The bastard had no fucking right branding you, Naruto, or should she say id?" Naruto growls. "I know," responds and stills herself. Honestly, she didn't know what the new Naruto was planning. The way he was acting, she half wondered if he'd try to burn the mark off or something equally crazy. Fortunately, it seemed he had something else in mind. She gasps when she feels his lips brush against the sensitive skin of her neck. She wasn't entirely sure if her neck was just naturally a spot, or if it was because the curse mark made it that way. But either way, it was like liquid lightning had just flooded her system. Painfully good was the only way to describe it. On instinct, she tilted her head more to the side to get more of the feeling. She was vaguely aware of a low growl of approval before Naruto started attacking her neck with kisses, licks, and even bites. Suki lost it when she felt his teeth lightly sinking into her neck, letting out a moan. It irritated him. That snake had his mark on Suki. It was practically taunting him. He wanted it gone, but he couldn't do that without hurting her. So he decided to do the next best thing, cover it with his mark. Soon his irritation gave way to something else. The blonde was able to tell that Suki's neck was sensitive. He didn't expect her to be this receptive so quickly. But he definitely wasn't going to complain. Then she moaned and Naruto fucking lost it. He grabs Suki and pushes her onto the floor, straddling her. As much as he would have loved to have taken her against the wall, He figured that this would probably be easier. Kyubi had said she was an innocent after all. In what world do you think you get to top? Suki murmurs from underneath them and flips them. Normally, I take that as a challenge. But I gotta admit, I like the view from down here. Naruto smiles in a feral fashion. Good, Suki says and leans down, kissing him. This was nothing like their first 2 kisses. Instead of an awkward clashing of mouths and teeth, it was a union. She was surprised when she felt Naruto's hands immediately grab her by the ass and the blonde take control of the kiss. For a moment, Suki forgot her plan. Naruto kissed like he fought, with everything he had. It was like being swept up into a tornado. She was brought out of her daze when she felt his claws slightly pierce her skin. It didn't really hurt, but it was a wake-up call. This wasn't Naruto. Well, it was, yet it wasn't. This was because of the blood moon. It'd be like sleeping with him when he was drunk. It wasn't fair, and as good as it felt, it was still wrong. She couldn't take advantage of him like this. Despite the fact that she could feel that he was enjoying being taken advantage of, unless that was rather large kunai she felt pressed against her. Which she doubted. Damn, Jiraiya was right about the condom size after all. Fireball jutsu, she murmurs and shoots off a fireball. The fireball naturally set off the smoke detector. The smoke detector automatically triggered the sprinklers. It confused Naruto for a moment, enough to loosen his hold on her ass. Suki takes the opportunity to bolt. Naruto was confused. One moment he was making out with Suki and enjoying what could only be described as a glorious view. He didn't know much about lingerie, but he decided to see if he could find out the name of the designer and send them a thank you letter. Seriously, Suki in that red silk bra was definitely a sight he wasn't going to forget anytime soon. Next thing he knew, the fire alarm and sprinklers went off. What the fuck? Then he saw Suki running off. Damn it, she'd totally tricked him. Damn, she really is sneaky, he growls as he takes off after her. Naruto knew that Suki was faster than him. But he had better stamina. Though her stamina was impressive, he was just naturally more energetic. Naruto also had Kyubi's reserves to call on if he really needed to. Damn, where to go to hide out, she mutters to herself. Well, first things first, she needed to lure him away from the village. There were too many innocent bystanders there. But she needed someplace close. That limited her options. She had to go for it. The last Uchiha races towards the forest of death. She really didn't like choosing the forest. Naruto's tailed beast was a fox. He had a home field advantage. But she didn't really have a choice. How to slow him down, she murmurs. She hurls an attack at the ground of the forest floor, creating a large steep hole. It was at least 10 feet deep. Quickly she uses a wind jutsu to fill it up with forest brush. He never was good about looking before he leaping, she states and darts off. The blonde was chasing after the sultry brunette at full speed. It never occurred to him that he should watch where he was going. If he had been more aware of his surroundings, he probably wouldn't have fallen into the giant hole. Oh, she's good. She must have made this fast. He looks up. There was no leverage to gain a foothold. It was a really well done trap for the short amount of time she had to make it. Idly, he was impressed. But mostly, he was just annoyed that she was running away from him, again. Naruto summons one of his bigger toads and just crawls out of the hole, by using him as a ladder. It was going to take more than that to keep him down. Believe it, the last Uchiha quickly jumps into the highest tree she could find. Thankfully, it was her shirt, not her pants that he had shredded. In her pockets, she had a lot of explosive tags. It wasn't a tactic she used often, but it could prove useful. She plants them all around her. She doubted even Naruto was dumb enough to walk into that sort of landmine. Naruto was relying on his now improved sense of smell. He could scent her. Even if the bond hadn't been in place, he was positive he could have tracked her at this point. Really, you're hiding up a tree, like a cat? Naruto asks. Yes, really, and I'm not hiding, Suki replies. Well, if you want to act like a cat, okay. You can be my kitten, the blonde states. You did not just refer to me as a kitten, Suki scoffs. Well, I'd normally say you are more of a tigress. But you are running away like a scaredy cat, so kitten fits better at the moment, he reasons. Naruto, you are not in your right mind right now. Don't you get that? You might not even remember what happens tonight, the woman responds. There is absolutely under no circumstance that I would forget being with you, he states with a certainty that was almost shocking. If you still want me in the morning, we'll talk. But it is not going to happen while that moon is up, she responds. Suki, I'll always want you. Why do you think I chased you around the 5 nations for years? I was just too stupid to realize what I wanted you for, the blue-eyed man asks. Because you were loyal to the point of absolute stupidity, even arguably suicidal, was her answer. Suki wasn't sure if she should believe him. He'd been about to ravish Tenten, so she was going to take any declarations of love with a grain of salt at the moment. Didn't think you were the type to use explosive tags, Naruto says conversationally. I'll use whatever I have to in order to get the job done. They're keeping you at bay, aren't they, she scoffs. You really should stop underestimating me. Guess you forgot about the whole shadow clone thing, he states. Suki wasn't exactly sure where he was going with this. But she didn't like it. He had something up his sleeve. Naruto makes about 24 clones, walking straight at her. They take the explosions one by one, activating every explosive. Suki had to erect a wall of earth to protect herself from the effects. Now are you going to stop running away? I don't get it. You liked it. I heard you moan and you kissed me. Then you just ran off. Talk about mixed signals, he states casually, though the look in his eye was predatory. Suki says nothing. At the moment, she was trying her best not to blush. How was she supposed to respond to that? She had liked it. She'd liked it a lot. He could feel what she felt. So he knew it. There was no way she could deny it. Thankfully she only had a small hole in her wall of earth to watch him. So he couldn't see said blush. So stop being a scaredy cat and come out from behind the wall. You know that I can break it if I want to, he says. She bites her lower lip. That was true. She briefly considers using Susanoo. He would have far more trouble getting through that than a dirt wall. But she decides against it. To use that much chakra would alert the leaf that something major was going on. She didn't want them to get caught in the crossfire. Naruto would never forgive himself when he came to his senses if that happened. If I come out, can we talk about this? Suki asks, stalling for time. Of course, he answers. Alright, she says warily, dissolving the wall. Naruto wasted no time in pulling her into against him. His arms wrapped around her waist tightly. Suki was surprised when he nuzzled her and appeared to be inhaling his scent, like an animal might. Then again, considering his tailed beast was a fox, maybe she shouldn't have been. That's better, he murmurs. Suki replies. She couldn't deny that she did like being held. It should have creeped her out that he was inhaling her scent like that. But it just made her feel more wanted. The last Uchiha probably would have been content to allow a little cuddling, if Naruto hadn't have tried to push his luck. She felt him reach over and try to tug off her pants. Damn it, what the fuck was she doing? He wasn't in his right mind. She had to get out of here. Suki hated to do it, but she decides she didn't really have a choice. She reached into her traveling pouch and pulled out a dart. While he was busy trying to get her pants off, she stuck the dart into his jugular. Sorry, we'll talk in the morning. I promise, she states. It was a fast-acting chemical. It was a powerful sleeping agent. It should knock his ass out. Fortunately, during her time at the Sound, Suki had developed an immunity to it, and a lot of other poisons and chemicals, but let's not go into her phase as a lab rat. Damn it Suki, why do you always have to make everything so fucking difficult? Naruto falls against the tree branch, laying on his side. It was a really big fucking tree. So she wasn't worried that he'd break it. Just get some sleep, I'll see you in the morning. She darts off, looking back, and sees his eyes slowly slide shut. She flits off back to the Uchiha district. It didn't really matter where she went. He'd be out for hours. Well, that's what she thought anyway. She'd seen that stuff put an elephant to sleep. It should be able to handle a Naruto for a few hours. What she didn't count on is that Naruto's metabolism was much different than most people. The reason he was able to eat 10 bowls of ramen regularly and not gain much weight was simple. His metabolism burned through everything wicked fast. That apparently included chemicals. About an hour later, Naruto's still red eyes fly open. Damn it, she'd actually fucking drugged him. When he got his hands on her, he was just chaining her to the bed or nearest available sturdy surface. He wasn't picky. The kitchen counter, the shower, a desk, were also intriguing possibilities. That's all for now. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments.